Hello, my name is Emily Cahill, and not Emily Cahill. I just reverted back to singledom.
Funny.
Emily Bacon. And this is the Olive Press, and I am with Angie Mendez. Thanks for coming in, lady.
Thank you for having me.
So, how you doing? You're in your new place now, so that's awesome.
My new place is dreamy.
How many rooms is it?
Just one.
It's just one?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where does Michael
Small
sleep?
but mighty. He takes the bedroom.
Oh, okay.
I take the living room.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
We're old. We have a lot of penance to make up, so it works out. They don't know it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a penance. I love it.
That's good. I'm glad. And I mean, do you guys have everything moved in? Or are you guys still?
Yeah, there's maybe a box or two that we could dig out. I don't know. Going into storage is like undoing a gnarly puzzle. I just don't want to. I'm just like, how long can we live without that, really? I don't think we need it.
Well, and I wonder if you'll just be like, well, I guess we could probably get rid of a lot of this stuff if you guys end up do it. What's that gal's name? Her name is the Japanese gal.
The lady that just recanted the whole minimalist thing, who said she loved.
Yeah, what was her name?
Having babies. What was her name?
Her name is Marie Kondo.
Okay. Yeah.
And
good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. I watched one of her episodes, not even the full episode. No, the first one was like cleaning up your house with toddlers, and it's like you don't
unless you enlist
you
the toddlers, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. But she said, like, get rid of things that you haven't used in 6 months and get rid of things that don't make you happy.
Yeah, okay, you first.
Yeah, right.
And then we'll talk.
Well, she said that her kids, there's crying in the background. They are my kids also.
Yeah.
So just for everyone, this is going to be a common thread. So.
It's not an olive pressed episode
without the screaming babies.
It's called motherhood, y'all. Get with the song of the domestic church. That's what it's really called. Is the song of the domestic church.
Do you call it that, or is that
I
like
do.
A known?
No.
Is that
I
a
lived
known
with a big
thing?
family. No, it's something that I made up. I remember being with my host family that we just moved away from, and I was in the bathroom, and the walls are like this, and I would sit there, and I was like, it's the song of the domestic church. I love it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, totally do it.
Wow.
Yeah. The song of the domestic church.
I agree. And I think it should be sung at every single church.
Every household is the song of the domestic church at SJA. It's awesome. We have like the three of us, and that's fine. But then I love when I'm, in another room like that, and then they were all in the living room, and I'm sitting here thinking about my husband just going nuts in his brains, like he's over it, and I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna stay in here. I'll just stay here and listen to his wheels turn, like, where is she? But he loved it.
Yeah,
we should have had a bunch of kids. We really should.
How many kids do you have? 2?
So I have 2, and he has 2, and we've got older children who are in their 30s and 40s, and then we've got, the one son, and I keep saying he's an only child. You're basically raised like an only child, and he's one of, 4, but one of 4. But he would love siblings. He always looks at his friends with siblings and is like, why are you guys fighting? He would love it. He'd be like, no, I wish I had a sister, and then we could play, but then I would protect her all the time, but she couldn't come up and boss me around because I'm the oldest. And I'd be like, oh gosh, he's got this stuff in his head, but he can't stand it when he sees siblings fighting. And I'm like, I don't like that either, but how come you don't like it? He's like, why are they fighting? Like, it's foreign to him. He's like, why would they do that? Instant friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an extent, like my siblings and I, because I'm one of 4. I'm the oldest of 4. And my siblings and I, we play fight almost, we make fun of each other and
roast each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And that's our whole relationship, but I mean, we fought like cats and dogs for real when we were all living together. But as me and my sister moved out, and Emmett, my brother, he's 17. Is he 17? Yeah, he's gonna be 18 this year. And my sister Ella is 15. Wow. Yeah, so, we're all growing up. And we have a different relationship, you know, as we've grown. But so how old are your kids then?
So we're all born in the sevens. I was 67. My oldest is 87, and then my youngest is 07. So I'll be 56, I'll have a 16-year-old, and then a 36-year-old.
Okay. So were you married prior to being married to Al, or?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, single mom. Me and my sisters all had our first babies and our first big relationships, obviously, within months of each other, like 6-8 months of each other.
Wow.
We all left the house at the same time. All had rotten first relationships at the same time. All broke up at the same time. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys can kind of like support each other through that.
Well, it was weird. We were actually, they had really, really bad relationships. I did too, but theirs was so much worse. And they never told me about it.
Really?
Until we all broke up.
Wow.
And then I heard the stories and I'm like, why didn't you guys tell me? Because you'd have gone over there and beat their butts. Yeah. And you didn't tell me. And they're like, yeah, because you would have gone over there. Thank you. It was bad enough. I don't want to see that.
That was the little, you know, the door stopper thing.
Yeah. The little
Yeah,
thing,
the little
boing.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So they had babies at the same time as you. So
Yeah.
are your guys' kids close then?
So then, they're like 6. There's 8 months between one and 6 months between another.
Wow.
So we all had our first 3 kids together pretty much in the same year.
Dang.
I know.
That's cool though.
It is. It was neat.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Are they
but
still close to each other?
No. Unless we see each other, they're not really close. My one son is just sort of far from everybody, so.
Yeah. What's his name?
Patrick.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me your story, you know, just start wherever you want.
I was born. No, I'm not going to say it. Steve Martin. Did you ever see that? Steve Martin? I was like, I was born. No, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I'm from San Diego. My family, and I was telling Michael this the other day, and we were just talking about family. My family's been in San Diego since before there was a border, and I would tell him that because I'm like, we need to always remember the person who said yes to the missions when they came to that part of California, Baja, wherever, Mexico, because that one person said yes to becoming Catholic, and we're all Catholic today. Crazy Catholics, but we're all Catholic today. Not everybody, you know, we're all baptized Catholic, mostly baptized Catholic, but yeah, all my family's from San Diego.
According to the FBI, we're all crazy Catholics.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sure they'll get over it. Yeah.
So what missions were they? So there was a priest, what was his name? The missionary,
Sarah.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was his?
Junipero Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah. So his mission was the Mission de Alcala, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's like monuments and things to him in San Diego.
And so were your ancestors part of those missions that he
We don't
created?
know. I have no idea. All I know is that that's how far back my family goes. Like my mom, at one point, my uncle would never say we were Mexicans. He would always say we were native, and he looked like Geronimo. So we were like, oh, he's a throwback. But my mom stopped identifying like that. She would just say, we're native. And, you know, my family's been here since before there was a border. And after a while, I was like, what is she talking about? Yes, we were there since before there was a border. It's really cool.
So
we don't have, there's like little bits and pieces of, there's like a rancho down there that my great grandmother really belongs to and probably inherited it, but somehow in the way somebody else got it. It sounds familiar.
yeah.
So, I mean, we have stories like that. My great grandmother lived in a particular place before there was a border, and then she got moved a few times. So she's like, forget y'all. I'm from here, but whatever. I'm going to go back that way. And she went into Tijuana. And there's a house there. There's like this big piece of land there, and there's this, like, it looks like a ranch style house. And then her little cottage was like right when you're driving in the driveway, it was on the right. And it was literally like a little cottage.
Wow.
Like it would probably be as big as this room. And so the partition when you walk in is the dining room / kitchen, and then you go in here and it's the bedroom and her little sitting area. And maybe there was a bathroom, like an outhouse, but seriously, it was that small.
That was your great grandma?
Great.
Great. Okay, so how far back would have that been? Like mid 1800s?
I guess.
Wow, dang.
I know.
That's crazy. So, wow. And then like Al's side of the family.
Al's side of the family, they're in LA.
Okay.
But one of his great grandma or great like was from Guadalajara or something. I know.
Dang.
I know.
Wow. So you guys,
So it's always been
you
there.
have some roots there.
We
Dang.
do. And my grandma, when me and Al went to visit my grandma at her house, we were talking and she was like, where are you from and what do you do? She goes, here. She wrote down a name. It's in storage. She wrote down a couple of names or a couple of references, and she goes, find out about these people because there may be a connection between us.
You and Al.
Yeah, and I'm like, ew. How far? Like far, right? Far away? What are you talking? What's going on?
Did you ever figure it out?
Not yet.
Are you going to try?
My mom's dad was from LA. I know.
LA's a big place.
It's a huge place. Come on.
Like the likelihood of that.
It would be weird.
Well,
It would be close, but it would be weird.
Teddy had Teddy's grandma wrote down their family history, and one of their relatives had the last name Pearson, and I was like, please
do not.
Please no. But Teddy's like he looks so much different than me. Like I doubt that we're related by marriage now, but like when I saw that, I mean we were already married and had 2 kids, and I'm like, oh no.
Well, there's like a Felix Chevrolet, not Felix Chevrolet, Felix Ford, a Felix Chevrolet, or some sort of dealership up in LA that on outside of the family, they're like, oh yeah, my dad used to always get his cars from there. I'm like, okay, what else? What's going on? Don't get so close over there, guys. But yeah, there's like this whole LA connection between Al's family and my mom's father's family.
Wait, really? Like
there's this thing. So my grandma was like, slip in the paper. Just look that up maybe one time when you guys can think about it. I'm like, what? I'm like, raisins and stuff. Just stop.
Wait,
like,
so did your grandma know Al?
She didn't know him, but when he was talking about, she's picking his brains for information, talking about where he's from and stuff, she was like, I'm like, scribble.
Oh, so the things like sounded familiar to her?
Yeah.
I was like, Angie.
Don't even. Oh my God. Just keep your raisins. Throw them somewhere else.
No.
We don't need that. We don't need that.
Well, if you do end up finding out, let me know.
I know. It'll be like some gnarly story, though. We have just gnarly stories in our family trees. Like, just...
Well, you could talk about them on here if you want.
I just think it's kind of cool that my great-great-grandma was like, forget y'all. I'm from here, but I'm going to move because you stink. And she went to Baja. I'm like, why? I'd have insisted. Are you crazy? Who wants to live in Baja?
I've
she
never
had
been.
A cool little house. Never? You're not missing anything.
I lived in Camarillo.
Yeah.
Near Lake Ventura, And every time that I go and visit, I hate it. Like, especially as an adult. When I was younger, I missed it. I was like, oh, there's so much stuff here. There's so much more than Idaho. Like the material really like stuck out to me when I was younger. But then when I went as an adult, and this was like 2018, I was like, oh, can't wait to get out of this place. It is disgusting. There's like porn everywhere, and like it was sick. Oh no, actually, the last time I went was 2019. Teddy and I, so Teddy worked for the airlines. He was a ramper, so he worked on the tarmac. And we were dating, and we went. He was able to fly standby, so we went down to California, and he met my grandparents and everything, and yeah. So and they had 2 rooms, so it was perfect. We didn't have to get a hotel or anything, which was nice. But yeah. So it was like. And my grandparents like fell in love with him right away. Yeah, they were like, it was almost like, we'll keep him instead of you. Like I just loved him, and we went to LA. I'd never been to LA actually, and we drove through it, and it was disgusting.
Yeah,
It's sick.
It is.
And I mean, there's porn all over the place, and it was so sick. And we the only thing that are really like, they had these hot dog vendors on the streets. This is like pre-COVID, you know. And they sold these things called dirt dogs. No, they were the best hot dog you could ever have in your life.
Really?
They were like $5. They were amazing. I don't know what they put on there. Crack, anything. But I'm like, Teddy, we end up going down in California again. Just you and I are gonna go to LA and get dirt dogs, and that's
wow.
And it was just this little cart on the street that they just whipped up a hot dog and gave it to you. It was great.
I know Al has some good stories about LA, and then he's got some not so good stories about LA. I told you about the picker.
No.
About how he's a picker.
Oh yes,
so
yes.
Yeah. So he's,
I thought you meant some like hooligan.
No, like I'm the kid growing up in the suburbs of LA Gardens, and we have bikes, and everybody has toys, and you go outside and play till dark. Like, what do you mean picker? He's like, yeah, they used to load us up in a car and take us to Grandma's house. Yay, we're gonna visit Grandma. Yay, we're gonna go pick stuff in the fields. Really? Those were your balls? Those were your toys, huh? Picking? Come on, avocados. You guys were suckers. Really? You fell for that? He's like, it was fun. Go up there, play, but we also got to see stuff. Yeah, watch me eat my words, because now I'm using his technique to pick oranges or avocados. I just got some avocados the other day. Brilliant, because of his grab. I gotta teach you the grab.
No, you did. I think you did, and I've actually got
avocados.
It's
you
on
like
the top.
In the top, yeah.
Like where the little stem is, right?
Yeah, where the stem is, you kind of give it a little press with your thumb, and if it gives a little, it's
gives
probably,
as in like
it'll depress. You don't squeeze the whole avocado.
Just the top.
Just the top where the stem was. And if it squishes too much, pass. But if it just gives a little bit of give under your thumb, take it. They're so good.
I've gotten some, and I tried that, and I don't think I have the touch because they were not ripe enough.
Yeah.
But they don't seem ripe at the store.
No, you have to do the grab.
Yeah.
You have to do the grab. And I do the same for onions. I watch him. I watch his hands. And he's doing onions. So no, and we're like, Daddy, how do you do the onion grab? Well, I was over here laughing at the side of my face. What did you do? You were pickers? We were like in the suburbs riding our bikes. No. Now I'm like, can you please tell me the grab? You know.
Teach me the onion grab.
Potatoes. Can you help me, please? Dude, seriously. The other side of my face is going, wah, wah, wah. Get the info.
Well, he should have like a
class.
I was just going to say that. Like, housewives would sign up so fast for that class. Like, how to choose fruits and vegetables.
Seriously.
He could make bank for that.
Yeah. You walk into and I think I got this from QVC actually. You walk into, like, pick the pineapples. You know, they have the whole pineapples.
Yeah.
You give a little twist, and if you twist the
little point, the stem
point of one of them, and it pops, it's ready.
I actually heard of that.
Yeah.
I knew that one before Al.
Before Al?
Yeah.
Pre-picker.
He's
so talented, honestly.
This podcast is gonna be,
you know what? He really is so
great.
talented. He's so talented. I have to crop this one because I'm like, I have egg on my face now. He's a rad picker.
If anybody wants to have a class from Al Mendez about picking fruits and vegetables, contact Angie.
He's gonna go, why are these women calling us so much? Why?
They want the onion grab.
They want fresh avocados. Yeah, like one of my friends is all, I can't even get a good watermelon with I'm not even buying it anymore because he knows the watermelons too. He goes, dum, dum. I don't know what he does. I'm like,
I'm
do
horrible
not like
at picking watermelons.
No, he gets the sweetest ones. The last one I got was the last one I got. I'm like, I'm not doing it again. My friend's like, I'm not doing this again. She's like, he needs to bring it.
Well, I told Al he should do DoorDash, or not DoorDash, Instacart.
Really? What did he say?
He was like, yeah, maybe.
You know what? He'd make bank doing that.
He would.
All the vegetables?
Well, he would I don't think you can request a specific person.
Yeah.
But I mean, people would be very happy with the fact that they got him and his onion grab.
His onions, the avocado. Seriously,
I might have
the grab. I got 3 avocados from that grab.
Yeah.
And I sliced one open a couple days ago. Perfect.
No, you bought some with that and you told us about it. for New Year's.
Yeah.
And they were amazing.
Right.
Gianna started liking avocados when you brought those.
Yeah. Those were also.
And then when I give her
With the grab.
avocado now, she doesn't like them. So it's you, Angie.
It's all in the grab.
In the
baby.
grab. So you were born in 1967 and you were born in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. And all my family was there. 5 generations at that time.
Really?
So when I was born, I had my great-great-grandmother. I had my great-great-grandmother, I think, until I was about... There's a picture of her holding me, and I think it was at her house. And I was like 2 or 3. And
Wow.
then Patrick had his great-great-grandmother, great-great, until he was 12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we
The
have longevity of
stories.
women. I know.
Man.
We have longevity.
So how old was your great-great-grandma? But when she
I
died?
think she was 93 or 94.
Dang.
I know.
So you're set for another 40 years, man.
I don't know about all that. Oh, no. I told Michael, I'm like, I do not want to be 90 something or 100. He's like, why? I want you to live so long. I'm like, no. I get to my 80s, I'm out. I'll say 80s. God willing,
Oh my
that's all I
gosh.
get.
You should
but
talk to
it's
my
his
grandma.
will. No.
Talk to my grandma. She's
How old is she?
86.
Really?
And she was, so she was really sickly as a kid. I'm hoping to have her on here. She was kind of like pensive about it, so we'll have to see. But I mean, she had 13 kids.
Stories.
Oh man, they're so amazing.
Gosh.
I might just have to tell the stories myself, but it would be amazing to hear from her. But anyway, I mean, she's 86 and my grandpa died in 2013. Oh wow, coming up 10 years now. Dang. But ever since then, she's been like, okay, God, I'm ready to go. And like every single time I see her, she's like, I'm checking out. And I'm like, Gran, you said that 7 years ago. Like we call her the cockroach because she lives through everything. She had a stroke. She had a heart attack. She had 13 kids. She had like many, many near-death experiences.
She's supposed to be taking the hint. Like, how long has she been saying I'm ready to go?
No, I know. I'm like,
she should be taking the hint. God's like,
every time
I
you
could
say
send
that,
you this. However, you're going to live. It's just for you, really.
every time
'Cause
she
you don't
says
believe
that,
me.
God adds another day.
Right?
It's like
Right?
elongated her life 10 years. So
She's like, I'm ready to take my trip now. He's like,
Right.
Yeah, okay. I still got work for you.
yeah, well, now she's saying the Surrender Novena,
Oh.
and she loves it. And it's a beautiful prayer. Have you ever heard of the Surrender? It's beautiful. Actually, I wish that I had a copy of it.
It's probably on the iPieta app, my favorite.
I don't know if it is actually. I have that app though.
Yeah, I love
It
that
is
app.
beautiful. This is not sponsored, but I do love it. It is beautiful, and it's cool because it has the Douay Rheims Bible on there too.
Yeah,
And
I love it.
one thing my mom loves is the Saint of the Day. I don't know if that's on the iPieta, but she has an app that's specific for like Saint of the Day, and she loves that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, when did you marry Al?
Oh gosh. When I was, what is it? We're gonna go on 20 years right now together, but 15 married. March of 2008. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Dang.
And we got married in at Our Lady of the Rosary in Little Italy. And yes, I was wearing pants. And another lady was too. And we both got married. We shared, we would pass each other doing perpetual adoration. So she would leave when I would start. And we caught up. Oh, I haven't seen you forever. I got married. She goes, I got married too. And I was like, I wore pants. She goes, oh my goodness, I wore pants too. Yeah, we got all excited about wearing pants. But we both had read, and we keep passing each other. And I'm like, oh, I read Theology of the Body. Did you? And she goes, oh, I have that book and I read it a long time ago and I'm reading it again. I'm just like, so we would just have these conversations. But yeah, it was March of, 2008. And it was really small.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's beautiful. How'd you guys meet?
We met, I lived in LA. I moved there in 2000. And then in 2003, I had like a Job story before, in 2002, the last half of 2002, from like Labor Day until January. It was just like a horrible, like, one of my friends was like, okay, somebody's messing with you. Because I lost my one big job and my car got broken into and broken down and just all this succession of stuff happened. My bank account got hacked into, like all these weird things. And it looked like I should never even be up there.
Yeah.
After all that,
Dang.
like for a single mom sleeping with one eye open, everything was happening. Like your finances were bam, just ripped out from under you. Your everything stable was bam, 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 gone. And so we like couch surfed, stayed with my friends. One of my roommates, she had ended up getting another place with some other roommates, and we ended up staying with her at the last. And then we survived the whole period. And then I moved into my old apartment building with the manager there. I think I was calling her for a reference. She's like, why would you do that? Just come live with me.
Wow.
She goes, I have a room. I'm like, okay. So we moved back in there. And it was shortly after we moved back in. She was actually friends with Al's family. My son Patrick was friends with his nephew beforehand.
Al's nephew?
Al's nephew. And so everybody knew this other family that was right, the next apartment over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you going to those people's houses? Like, I don't know them. Patrick's like, my friend lives there. That's why. I'm like, well, don't go over there for dinner. Like, I have food for you. I would go to work and I'd be like, I have your dinner in the fridge. And I would call and check in. And I'm like, where's Patrick? He's out. Next door at Donna's. I'm like, what? I made him dinner. So he'd keep going over there, but he's over there with Al.
Wow.
I had no clue. And I met him Super Bowl Sunday, which is coming around. 20 years ago, Super Bowl Sunday, it was January 26th. I was living in this place, and me and Patrick had called it a night, and I'm like, okay, brain on. I got to do this. I think I had to work that day for a couple of hours, and then I could go, but I didn't have my car. I had to take the bus. I'm like, all right, strategically, I got to do this, this, and this. You're going to be here, but I'll be back, blah, 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 blah. And my brain was just like, okay, ready? I'm going to go to bed now. And I woke up like I've been hit, and I was like, what? Why? I have to have a cigarette? Okay, I'll go outside and have a cigarette. That's really weird. It's like midnight. When I go outside, and my roommate just come in from working, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need to have like a Statue of Liberty. I must have a cigarette now. I have to go outside. She's looking at me like, are you awake? I'm like, yes. I must have looked crazy. I went outside, and I had seen my brother-in-law. He was standing outside.
That you wasn't your in-law at the time.
Yeah, he wasn't my in-law at the time, but the weekend before, my roommate, I'm backtracking. My roommate had a dinner for all of us to meet because they were her friends. And when I moved in, they're like, yeah, we're not going over there to visit with. Yeah, we'll wait till she gets there, and then we'll come over, and then you come to our house. They didn't want to encounter me because they had an idea about me. I think you know the idea. You know the word. The
future in.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay.
They were her friends, but when they saw me, they're like, we're not trying to talk to that girl. No, she's burp, burp. So they thought I was mean. Anyway, might have been my face. I have epic dirty looks. I don't know. I might have been wearing one day, and then you're just like, wow.
RBF.
Right. So she had a dinner the weekend before because she's like, I am sick of you guys not talking to each other. Like, you're all my friends. Come eat with me. So she was Filipino. She made this amazing dinner. And then I sat with them, my brother-in-law, my future sister-in-law, and I'm like, these guys are like family. They're like so familiar. Weird. Huh. What was I thinking? I never knew these people before.
Maybe it's like
future family?
No, connection to those names that your grandma gave you.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe on my brother-in-law's side, I could probably get with that. But on, blah. Anyway, so when I saw him, I'm like, oh, Manuel's there. Psh. There's a black guy, another dark dude, and then my future brother-in-law. And I'm like, oh, he's out there. I'll be okay. It's the middle of the night in Van Nuys in an apartment building. You got no business going outside, chick. But I saw him, and I was like, I'll be fine. And I go over there, and they're all talking. He's like, hey, Ange, what's up? I'm like, dude, I need to have a cigarette right now. I don't know why. Do you have a light? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, hey, man, listen, this is my neighbor, Angie. Me and my brother-in-law. And Al turns around. He was talking to the black dude. He turns around, and he's like, this is Angie. Angie, this is my brother-in-law, Al. And I'm like, oh, hi. And I put my hand out. He took my hand. He looked straight at me. Took my hand, kissed it, and then gave it back to me. And I was like, oh. You touched the queen. Like, that was my reaction. Literally. I was like, how dare you? Like, I just looked at him like, oh. Okay. And then he introduced me to the other guy. I'm like, hello. I know I had a weird look on my face. Because the whole time he's got, Al smile, right? You can imagine Al smile. Yeah. No teeth, just smile. And he's looking at me and I was like, oh. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, I'm irritated now. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I finished it real fast and they're talking about the Super Bowl party. He's like, hey, yeah, you should come. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, what the word? It's not romantic. When I think about it, I'm like, how did we ever get together?
No,
that sounds disturbed the sanctuary of my being.
The queen.
That was my first thought. How dare you, And then we wake up and me and Patrick wake up and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to work. You do stay here, blah blah blah. And then we were invited next door to this party, and he's standing there and he's bebopping along and help whatever he does. You see him. And I kept looking at him and I was like, who's that guy again? 2 letters. My roommate's like, that's Al. What in the world? And I'm like, the guy with the brown hat. Who's the guy with the brown hat? Hey, guy with the brown hat. He's in the guy with my roommate was just like, oh, you gotta stop. It's Al. Just say his name. I'm like, he's the guy with the brown hat. I was like so disturbed. I'm like, kiss my hand. And I was
you still have trauma from that?
I know I had trauma from that. But then, and then we went through the party and we hung out together and I was just like checking him out like, ugh. And then the next day, it was Monday and I was coming back from work and it was not middle of the night. It was about 11:30 at night. And I'm sitting there and go in the house and Patrick's asleep and my roommate's doing whatever. And I'm like, I wonder if that guy is over by the pool, because there was a pool in the center of the place next to our apartment.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I wonder if I don't know why I thought that. I'm like, I wonder if he's by the pool, because sometimes he would go over there and play guitar. You hear him playing guitar, and I didn't hear anything. I'm like, I wonder if he's over there. So I go out, walking around the corner, and he looks up and he goes, how you doing? Like he knew I was going to come. I kid you not.
Yeah.
There's no way he could see me entering my apartment. And he looked up, he goes, how you doing? And I was like, ah! And I reached in my pocket, I'm having a cigarette. So, I'm like, what?
Didn't come out here for you. Even though I did.
But from that second on, we were together every day.
Wow.
20 years later. It's so unromantic.
No, that is romantic.
So unromantic.
Are you kidding
what is
me?
cute though? People would be like, wow, you're with that guy? And I'm like, ew, yeah, what's wrong? Like, I didn't think he was good looking. I didn't think he was nothing. I was just like, that guy. It's like, that guy.
You should get your hand.
Okay, I know. I should get
a tattoo.
That guy.
He touched the queen.
Michael was like, why did you say that to yourself? I'm like, I don't know. It was personal boundaries or something. I was like high and mighty back then. Like, I thought so much of myself that was my first thought. And today I'm like, you're such a weirdo. Like, why? What were you thinking?
Oh my gosh.
But we were together. Seriously, it was just like that. We've been together like ever since.
Wow.
That next day.
That's amazing.
I know it. And
well, maybe you shouldn't find out what's on that list.
I shouldn't.
I'll find out.
No, and then you know what's funny? Yeah, I'll slip it to you. I'll find it in storage. I'll slip it to you, and I'll be like, Emily, don't tell me.
I'll do the FBI thing.
Maybe you should call the FBI.
Yeah.
They probably have all that information already.
If they're traditional Catholic, they will.
Right? But excuse me. Yeah. So my mom came up to visit, and when she saw him, she was like, "Wow, that guy really loves you." I'm like, "Ew, I know, but stop saying it out loud like that." I didn't want to be in a relationship necessarily, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, you saw it, darn." Because nobody in my family would like anyone I went out with. Notoriously, they're like, "That guy's a jerk," but we can't tell her because she'll stick around with that for a while. I had a jerk magnet. You know, it was the times. The 80s and Vatican II babies. Anyway, we weren't catechized correctly and didn't have our brains on, so I thought for sure if my mom saw him, oh yeah, she's not gonna like him, and
wow,
I don't have to worry about that guy.
So how did he take it that you were like a single mom, and was Patrick was a teenager at the time?
Patrick was a teenager at the time, and he had already known he had already known about me because my sister-in-law lived at the downstairs apartment, and my stairs were right next to her door. So they went up, and I was at the top of my roommates. And Patrick reminded me of this one time. Is my brother-in-law and Al were helping move in some things or something. They were doing something, or they were just hanging out. But they were going in the apartment. We were moving stuff in. Like, I was moving stuff in. And for some reason, there was a stop down there. Like, maybe I was checking me out or something. Because I turned around my shoulder. And, of course, you're bothering the queen. So I turned to my shoulder, looked over my shoulder. And I had to have had this epic dirty look on my face. Because Patrick's like, Mommy, why did you do that? That's my friend's uncles. And I'm like, what? They were looking at me. No, Mommy, stop. No, they weren't. They were staring at you. I'm like, well, I didn't know. Like, what? Do not invade my presence. Like, please, don't be gross. Like,
didn't give you permission to.
I didn't give you permission to look at the queen. I was such a nerd. So yeah, so he had already seen, like, there was all this back and forth with Patrick up and down the stairs all the time.
So he was like completely fine with taking on that role of stepdad, and
yeah, he was fine about it. I mean, it wasn't like we ever talked about it. He had already had like kids himself, so you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah.
So he had 2 kids before he met you, right?
Right, and one of them's in Washington, the other one's in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I had Patrick. Mom came up and she saw him. She's like, "Oh yeah, he totally loves you." I'm like, "Well, okay, I'm gonna bring him down to meet the family, and maybe they won't like him, and then whatever." Like, I was trying. It was weird. I was trying to throw him back. It was weird. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna trust my family this time." And then I was like, "Oh, strike! Really, you like him? Never mind. Anyway, I'm gonna tell Grandma." So then he was coming up the driveway, I think, with Patrick at my grandparents' house, and my grandma was like, "Oh no." She thought I'd married, like I was going to be in she said, "I thought you were going to be in a harem. I thought he was Arab when I saw him coming up the driveway." And I'm like, "Oh no! My gosh. What are you doing?" When I was, oh my gosh. She did. When I was a teenager in junior high, so weird, there was this huge group of Middle Eastern kids that had gone and come from Iraq and Syria, and
when you were in middle school?
When I was in middle school. And this big group of kids, and I mean, they stuck out. They all looked older and they stuck out. Yeah. And so when I went to school, I lived in the suburbs. I looked like me, but I was going to school with kids like you. Like, they were all blonde hair, blue eye, blonde hair, green eye, red hair, nobody looked like me. And so when these kids came along, I was like, wow. And so I would hang out with those kids. So my grandma saw Al coming up the driveway, and she goes, wait, what's his name? What? Oh, Al what? I was like, he's barely rounding the corner in the kitchen. I'm like, Mendez. She goes, what? Oh gosh, thank you, Jesus. She's like, hi. Oh, nice to meet you. And then my grandparents sat with him, and we were just hanging out and going around, and it was a regular, typical family get together, just minimal, not all 5 generations, but just like my mom's side, the cousins and the sisters, and they all loved him. They're like, he reminds us of Uncle Mark. I'm like, record skip. Y'all are supposed to weed these out for me. I'm trusting you now. What? Oh my gosh. Man, y'all just
20 years later.
Really, 20 years later.
Al's gonna listen to this and be
he's gonna be like, what?
You still want to throw me out?
Now I'm like, I want to see how this ends now, chicken. I want to see.
Hopefully in heaven.
Oh, God willing. God willing, because he's certainly pushing it. It's like, okay.
So are you guys close with his kids too?
No, we're not. Our boys are on their own in their own worlds, but...
Where's Patrick right now?
Patrick lives, I don't know where. I just inquired about Patrick. Patrick is like, Patrick is fallen away Catholic, but he's also like just away from our family. There was a period of time where I was like having to separate my family and my relatives and just be like, okay, crazy stuff, you guys, I need to get away from y'all. And when I did that, I was like, Patrick, I got to give you the huddle. We're going to be gone. We're going to be out of range of anybody. We're just going to be ourselves. And, I love you. And I know you live with grandma right now, but there's just some really crazy stuff going on, and we have to be away from it. We as a family need to be away from this stuff. There was a time when I wasn't talking with my mom, so I was having bad times with my mom, and I'm like, oh, I need to be away from my family.
Yeah.
So during that time, though, he got to hear a lot of junk, which is what my aunt had said to me once. And then, too, I had changed a lot because we did get married, and there's that whole thing about you get married in the Catholic Church and everything shifts. Everything changes for the better, obviously. Mm-hmm. But you're like, this is not like, we're not the same people. This is different. This is everything that's,
Right.
So I was different mom than before. And he was, I don't know. He didn't really understand. Like, I was a single mom his entire life.
Yeah.
Us together. And then I'm married mom in Catholic Church. And he's already fallen away from the church. And he's like,
Yeah.
It would have to be kind of a trip to see, like he came to live with us when Michael was born, but it had to be really different. Something about that in between time where we were gone for a long time and then came back in each other's lives, feeling safe to be with family again. It's something about it just was different for him and for me.
Right. So, were you practicing when you had him, and were you like?
Me and my sisters, we had our babies, the three of us, had our first babies 8 and 6 months together. We had gotten into relationships at that time too. My one middle sister, my best sister, she married in the church. My other sister, I think she just had a justice of the peace. I didn't get married. And Mom started going to Latin Mass at the mausoleum. And we all went into the Latin Mass, and it was really nice. But after my one sister got married there, and I don't know what happened, my generation, our group, however many kids there were at that time, we all left the church. We left the Latin Mass, left the church, maybe did some of the church. It was just strange.
Like after Vatican II happened?
Or after, I was 19 or 20. My other sister was like, if I'm 20, she's 18. The other one's 16, 17. It was that kind of thing. And we all went to church with Mom, Latin Mass. I don't know how it was that we went there, but she's like, yeah, I'm going to church and Latin Mass. And we're like, what's Latin Mass? And we would go. But then the big group of us, me, my two sisters, and then however many other generations of our kind there were, they all left.
Oh, man.
I know.
So you and Al and Michael are like the only ones carrying the torch for the Latin Mass, at least.
For the Latin Mass, at least, yeah. My one sister, my third sister, she goes to church, but she lives in some, I don't know where it would be. She lives in a place in California where it's not so close.
Oh, okay.
So I think if she has a parish, it's Novus Ordo. But yeah.
Which isn't. I mean, Novus Ordo isn't necessarily a bad mass. If it's done reverently, that's the main thing, I think, for because I grew up in the Novus Ordo, and I still have a love for it,
Yeah,
and especially and especially for people that are converting too, it's important because you go into a Latin Mass and you're like, I don't know what the heck is going on here, they're speaking in tongues and they're there's smoke everywhere, and so you just don't even know. But when you go to the Novus Ordo, it's especially when Teddy was converting, it was really helpful because he could hear the Mass and he could understand, oh, okay, the Mass is biblical. There's that stereotype that Catholics don't read the Bible and whatever, and
Mass.
We could probably be better about reading it, but everything that we believe is biblical,
right?
And including the most important part of our belief system,
which is the Eucharist.
That's the Bible. You know, that like it literally says, "Thou shalt not have eternal life unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood."
Yeah.
That's in the Bible.
Right.
And we're doing it, you know. And so regardless, like sorry to go off on this tangent, but I just wanted for anybody, like, it's important that, like, Catholic is Catholic, you know. And so regardless of whether it's Latin Mass or not,
Yeah.
we believe the same thing.
We used to go to Grandma's church, which was Holy Family, and then my mom broke off and went to the Latin Mass at the Mausoleum with Monsignor Andreatta, and it was awesome watching him say Mass. And I didn't care if I understood it or not. I was just watching him say Mass, and he would talk to us about what Father Gordon is talking to us about. He would talk to us about, you know, being modest when you go out there, and the length of your skirts need to be, you know, a certain length because you have to keep your modesty. All this stuff, it was kind of strange because we grew up in Novus Ordo, obviously Vatican II babies. The only time that I ever heard reverence for the Eucharist was during confirmation class, where they're like, telling us you can take it in the hand or you can take it on your tongue. And the take it on your tongue portion was like, what? It just perked our ears. And then she would tell us, but short of saying it's Latin Mass or it's tradition or it's this or it's that, oh yeah, you can take communion on the tongue, you'd have to be on your knees, blah blah blah. It's like they knew it, but they didn't say anything about it. They just sort of glossed over it and showed you how to do it in your hand.
Yeah, that was the same for me.
Yeah.
Not that it was a bad, like, I feel like my catechetical upbringing was actually really good. I went to catechism at St. Thomas, and they had a really stellar catechism program. And actually my my confirmation sponsor and Finnegan's godfather was the head of the catechism, the religious ed.
Wow.
Anyway, so when I was learning how to receive the Eucharist for my first Holy Communion, they practiced with, like, vanilla wafers, you know, and they taught you how to do it in the hand. So you'd get in line and you'd put your hand out, you know, and then you'd eat the vanilla wafer and then go back in the line, you know, so you're getting cookies, you know, that's the good end of the deal. But my mom was like, you receive on the tongue. And I was like, why do you do that? And she explained it, you know, like, that's our Lord. You have reverence for him, you know, and your hands aren't blessed. They're not sacred like a priest. And, like, she said it in terms that, like, a 7-year-old would understand. But I actually did receive on the hand for my first Holy Communion, because, I mean, that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you know, I came clean to my mom, and I'm like, I did that. And she explained it further, like, no, don't do that anymore. Like, this is why. And as I've grown up and, you know, have started to go to the Latin Mass and have started to really dive into my faith, I understand why it's so important. I mean,
Michael took his first communion. Michael's first communion was at Our Lady of the Rosary, and it was just him. I think it was noontime. It was like the day before. The day before Pentecost Sunday, so it was Saturday noontime Mass, and that was his first communion. And he took it on the tongue, and he had a kneeler.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I refuse. One time during COVID, we went to St. Agnes, which was at the walking distance. It was like 7 blocks away from our apartment. So we would walk there, and I guess there was a visiting priest or something, or a deacon. He remembered it. We got in line, and they said, he you know, opened his mouth, and they're like, no, you have to put it in the hand. Oh, put up your hands. And I said, oh, it's okay. I go, no. He's always taking it on the tongue, even from first communion. Like, it's okay. No big deal. We'll just go sit down. And he looked at me funny, like, no. And I go, oh, I understand, but we're not going to do that because he's never done it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not going to do that. But thank you. And I sat down.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be, like, crazy. Some people get all belligerent. I was like, no, he didn't know. You know? Right.
Well, and, like, with COVID, too. I mean, man, people were taking liberties with that. Like, I don't remember where this church was, but it was on the Taylor Marshall show.
Yeah.
And
where they took the pregnant lady?
No. I did see that, though. No, they had the Blessed Sacrament in an envelope. Individual envelopes. And people
you pick it up off the table.
Yeah, in a basket, you know, and, like, people would be in their cars listening to Mass or whatever, and then they'd come in and grab their grab the Eucharist, and then they'd receive it in their cars, you know. But and Taylor Marshall, he's so funny. He's like, it's a sacrament, not a snackrament.
Or somebody would say it's not a Jeez-It. I'm
It's
like, dude, really?
oh my gosh!
Somebody on one of the Instagram, somebody was doing a live on Instagram, and they said, yeah, no, it's not the same. I think he was doing a comparison between what they do in a Protestant meeting house and what they do at the church, and he's like, yeah, that doesn't pass as anything.
I actually, oh my gosh, so my in-laws are Protestant, and actually it's cool because they live in the rectory, or is that what it's called, where like the pastor should live? I think that's called the rectory. Anyway, so they're renting from the church, and we went to their house one time, and there was this little tiny cup. Like, did you ever do those fluoride washes?
Yeah.
So it was like that, but it was tinier, and it was super, super small. It was like a thimble almost, and I think it was grape juice, and then there was a little wafer on the top, and I'm like,
Stop.
And it was in plastic, like it was in and I'm like, whoa, I've never seen that before. It's like a tiny Eucharist, you know, but it's like, you know, for a Protestant service, you know, but it was like a flip top, you know, like it was the little plastic on the top, and you just go, and then you drink it, and then there's a little wafer, and but what I thought was like hilarious was it looked like a tiny Eucharist, like it was super tiny, and it was amazing. But
wow.
I think a lot about, you know, how important the Eucharist is, because one time I saw St. John Vianney's Heart was on tour, and it came up here to Spokane over to the cathedral. I have a picture of it, and I'll show it to you afterwards, but because it's incorrupt, you know, it looks shriveled, you know, but it's like incorrupt enough that it like didn't end up decomposing the entire way, you know. But anyway, so I went and saw that, and then I'm like, you know, I'm like really excited about seeing this saint's heart, but I see Jesus every Sunday. You know, we just take it for granted. And Father Calloway said the same thing. Like, he's like, he just like couldn't believe it, you know, that people wouldn't go to adoration. And there was a guy that was actually a former warlock.
Oh.
Did you hear about this guy? Zach. His name is Zach King, I think. Anyway, he when he became Catholic, he could like see Christ on the altar in perpetual adoration.
Wow. And
he was like, he was surprised because there was no one in there, and they would just like book it, you know. And he's like, what are people doing? Like, there should be like a line out to the street to see Jesus, you know. And so it's like we take it for granted. So I think bringing back communion on the tongue is going to be really important for the next generation, I think. That's why I'm so thankful to have St. Joan of Arc up here, because my kids can learn the beautiful traditions of the church that have been forgotten.
Hidden. I keep thinking when I see things like what is it, the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, or when they make a big deal about, you know, the incense and the lights and the last time I was in San Diego with the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, we had seen them bring him out, and the candles were lit, and there was the incense. I bawled my head off. And my mom, it was so much that my mom was like rubbing my back. I hadn't experienced that probably since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Her rubbing my back like that. She says, shh, it's okay. And I'm like, I know, Mom, I just can't stop crying. You know? But I was like, oh, it surprises me to be this old, and then when we came into the Latin Mass, like really paying attention to the Latin Mass, I don't know, you know, God, you sit there and you wonder why things didn't happen faster or sooner or whatever. He works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Like, we went from, I almost left the church. We were going to Mass at what was it, Grandma's church, Holy Family, and I was like, I don't want to go to Latin Mass. I don't know why, but I don't want to go to Holy Family anymore. It's boring. And I remember my aunt had gotten married down in Little Italy at Our Lady of the Rosary. I never found it. I would always drive through there, and I'd just never run into it. And this one day I was just like, man, I'm just not going to go to church anymore. I mean, I have Patrick, and I just had this thought in my head, I'm not going to go to church anymore. And I'm driving through downtown, and I'm like, for some reason I thought of Our Lady of the Rosary, and I found it.
Wow.
I thought about it. I'm like, I think it's over here. And I found it. I think we heard the bells. And I found it. And of course, there's parking right in front. If you go downtown, it's hard to find parking down there by this church.
Wow.
And it was like, scoop. And I got in the parking spot right in front of the door. And I'm like, wow, I haven't seen this place since I was his age. And I go in. I kid you not. I felt the Holy Spirit. And obviously, this is how every church feels, whether you feel it or not. And I felt the Holy Spirit. It was like enveloping every crack and crevice of that church.
Oh my gosh.
And all I could do was look around in awe and go, I was here for my aunt's wedding. I did not see any of this. Because it's got all the frescoes on the ceiling and on the front and the back, the stained glass, and that feeling of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. It was everywhere. It was like if you had incense going, only it was just as strong in front as in back, as in the sides, as in, you sit up front, you're going to get the whiff of incense. You're going to be like inebriated in it. Yeah. Better than if you're going to be in the middle or back. This was everywhere. Wow. And so I was like, that's it. I'm going to church. And then Patrick became the 10:30, I think it was. He was the lone altar boy.
Was it Latin Mass?
It was an Italian church.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't Latin Mass, but he was the lone altar boy at this one Sunday Mass. Yeah. And we'd gone there 6 months. Of course, I think I said that people really didn't talk to us. They would just see us and smile. And, it was kind of you had to crack the code or something. Yeah. But after 6 months, Patrick had become the altar boy. And Father Steve, God bless him, he introduced Patrick. And after that, everybody was, oh, Patrick's so cute and all this, that, and all, blah, 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 Patrick. But then people were coming up and talking to us, and you were in. Yeah. It was family. It was great. But I was going to leave. And I had the same feeling, too, when we moved to L.A. I just, we were always at Our Lady of the Rosary, and then we moved. And we moved in 2000. And I was like, I'm not going to this other parish. What was it? It was the North Hollywood parish, the Bob Hope parish. St. Charles Borromeo. He used to go to the one in North Hollywood. And it was called St. Charles Borromeo. And I'm like, I'm not going to go there. It's boring. I don't know what's going on. And then there was this other parish. I'm like, I'm not going to go there. I'm just not going to go to church anymore. And I found this one on Valley Heart. It looks modern, like 50s modern, kind of like, like the floors have that certain 50s kind of vibe. You go in the old post offices, you'll see it almost is like deco, but it's 50s. What's it called?
Yeah. Oh shoot.
There's a whole thing about it. Anyway,
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I found it, St. Francis Xavier.
Oh. Okay.
And I walked in. I'm like, I didn't know there was a church here. It was like tucked by the wash on Valley Heart. It's like off this side street by the aqueduct or whatever that thing is. And I was like, that's strange. I never knew there was one here before. And I walked in, bam, just like Our Lady of the Rosary, same envelopment of the Holy Spirit. And I was like, oh, this is my parish. So we would go there. And that lady from, I can't remember what TV show she was from, Gillian Anderson, she used to go there. She was an actress.
Really?
Yeah, wow. She had a big deal story. She had a double mastectomy at one time, I think, if that's the same lady. But she used to go there.
Wow.
I know. She went to daily mass.
Isn't that cool when you find out that like certain celebrities are Catholic? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that Andy Warhol was Catholic.
What?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? He went to daily mass too.
That's wild.
And Kobe Bryant was Catholic.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he and his daughter, before they died, went to mass that morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
LA's a trip. I don't miss it.
No, man. So Teddy and I, when we went down like we went the back roads because we didn't want to go down on the freeway. Yeah. Freeway is a freaking nightmare.
The freeway is, I still can't believe I used to drive like that. Everybody drives like that. No,
my mom.
You have to.
My mom learned how to drive on those freeways. And she got in like 3 or 4 car accidents. Anyway, my dad, when we go down there, he drives for us.
Yeah.
And it's like a switch goes off. It's like he just turns into this like crazy Fast and Furious, you know.
It's because everybody drives like that. They
No,
just do.
and you have to, or else
do,
you're
or else you're gonna
done.
get you're gonna get in an accident.
Yeah, and my grandpa, when he would drive to and from work, he'd see ladders flying off of trucks and like things going down the. It was crazy. And
Yeah, but then you get to San Diego and it's like do.
Yeah,
do.
you don't
They'd be
even
like,
drive.
Yeah,
It takes like 2 hours to get to one on ramp.
it's
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we were gonna go to San Diego to visit a friend, and we just were like, it's just I don't think we could get there in time to like see my friend and then get on our plane. And anyway, so
the only thing I would want to see in San Diego is the beach, or my dad, or my sister. You know, our family is in San Diego, and my cousins and everybody are all spread out all over the country. But the things that I loved about San Diego, or would stay there for, I had to give up. I'm just like, 3 things. Bam, bam, bam. I got to give you all up. I need to get out of here, because San Diego's just, now it's just, after COVID, things switched so hard.
yeah,
The people that you normally see every day just flipped so strong. It's like, no.
I wish you were up here when COVID happened, because it was like we kind of just went on with our daily lives, just with masks.
That's wild.
Like I remember when it first happened, I was like a sheeple for like 2 days. Like I got laid off, and then I was like, guys, we have to quarantine. This is serious, to my roommates. And Monica's like, well, you know, I think we'll be fine if we go hiking, you know. And I'm like, well, I didn't go hiking. I don't like hiking.
Yeah.
I hate it, actually. But I'm like, no, guys, we have to quarantine. We have to do this. And like woke for like a second, you know. And then I'm like, this is boring. I'm done. So I was like,
You're like, this is boring. I was Happy Face Day. The only reason why I would be like, I remember I talked to my friend. She's also going to St. Anne's too, but she was a nurse. And I was like, okay, you know, Al has a compromised constitution. You know, he's had a heart attack and all that. As a young child, he was really sick. I'm worried about his lungs.
what did he have as a kid?
He had TB.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah. So he's got this TB story about being in the hospital, and he's a kid, and it, you know, that old-fashioned scene of the tubes and the drape over him and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
What? Like,
Oh,
wait,
and he's totally fine.
the drape, like,
Like, what is it? That plastic? It would be like this. It'd be like this container over his
Yeah.
hospital bed, and he's, you know, poor
Really?
guy. Yeah, I think he said it was a year.
what? That he was
hospital like
in
that.
the hospital?
I thought, if I'm not mistaken, he said it was a year.
Whoa.
I know. So I was always worried when they talked about COVID. I'm like, all right, what do we got to do? We got to protect Daddy. We got to have a protocol. Who do we call first? You know, is it the priest first or the ambulance first? Right?
Priest.
Right, priest. And I'm like, all right, we gotta do this. We gotta do that. At the time, I was going to Latin Mass again. And so I was like, okay, we got to call Father Lyons first, or we got to do this first. And I was like, all right. And I tell my friend, okay, what should we do if something happens to him? You know, that's the only reason. Otherwise, we're Happy Face Day outside. And they would, you know, I would go everywhere I could without a mask. Everywhere. You know, my little face out there like, Happy Face Day. I'm here to give you some money. You want it? You know. And Al, he was masking. I'm like, why are you masking? You're like choking off your own air that you actually need. Like, you need more air than I do.
Right.
And he would go out there and he'd be like putting it down off his face. He'd be like, well, I don't like anything on my face anyway, but I'll go over there and do it, whatever. And I'm like, wait a second. It's so bad, and he's going out there. He's not trying to quarantine. He's going about his life. I'm like, forget that. No mask. And I was telling Michael, this is a hoax. No mask. No, there's something. Something wrong. And, oh, man. I would go everywhere without a mask. And my mom would be like, oh, yeah, I got yelled at. My mom would be like, I'm putting on a mask because I'm not trying to be confrontational. I looked at her like, chick, you used to march for Mecha and La Raza. Like, what are you talking about?
What is Mecha?
My mom was in college, like junior college.
Yeah.
And she, remember I told you she did the mural? And it was
yeah.
it was this part of Mecha. Mecha was like this Chicano Federation kind of thing where you had Chicano studies. Bull. And she was all into that.
Like Hispanic rights type thing?
Yeah.
Like a Hispanic
It was like
BLM almost?
yes. If you were
Is
Chicano.
that weird?
Yeah, it was totally weird.
Well, no, like, is that weird for me to say? Like,
No. That's
Okay.
gonna, yeah. To me in my brain, that's
Yeah.
how I would connect it.
Okay,
Only
okay.
it was back like when I was a kid.
oh, okay.
And so when she said that, I'm looking at her like, you're the great. No. You're a baby boomer. And I've seen you talk all this trash about La Raza back in the day. What are you doing? I'm like, Mom, happy face day. Get in there right now. Don't even mask. And I would tell them, none of you mask. Like Patrick or Michael and my mom. I'd be like, no masking. None.
Yeah.
You walking in happy face day. This
Yeah.
is a junk. And we would go in and somebody would say, ma'am, you got to put your mask on. And Mom would keep going with your cane. She's like, Angela. And I'm like, we're good. Can you tell us where something is? Oh, no? Okay. And go on. And we would boop, sit there. And man,
People
you have
would
to,
look at you.
Yeah, they'd look at us and we'd be like, I'm buying this. You're going to watch me buy it. I don't care if you turn off these machines. I'll go over to that cashier.
You're braver than I am, man.
No, I got yelled at in my poor little donut shop. Their manager gave them what for. So when I came in to get my donuts one day, it was just down the street from our house. She's like, you need a mask. We got in trouble. And I'm like, okay, I'll mask for you because you got in trouble for me.
Oh.
But on my mask, I have it somewhere in storage. It says, I'm wearing this mask out of penance for the bad example and scandal I've given my neighbors and God or something like that in my lifetime.
That's cool.
So I'm like, I would wear it. And I remember when I walked in and one of them, the one who gave me the mask went, and went in the back. She read it, but she went in the back. And then the other lady just cracked up laughing. And she's like, what do you want, honey? You want your donuts today? Which ones? Like, and she just looked at me like that was so perfect. But yeah, I was I with none of y'all. And I mean, I remember going up to a cashier that we would go to all the time at Ralph's, and I would say, I need change for this machine because it says I need change. And she literally was like so standoffish, and she's like, I'm not helping you. You don't have a mask.
That's what she said.
Gave me the dirtiest look and like turned away.
Wow.
And then her supervisor, who was so sweet, she's like, tell me, Miha, what do you need? And then she gave it to me and she goes, we can't talk to people like that. She turned around and told, I'm not going to help anybody else to have a mask. We're supposed to be wearing a mask. And she's like, I know, baby, but we can't be like that with people. I'm sorry. You just can't do that. And I'm hearing this back and forth, but I'm like, man, I would not like it was a trip hearing people talk like that. And I would run into my other fellow parishioners at St. Agnes, and they would either be masking or they would be this or that, or they were cheerful. But then I would walk in and see one of my neighbors, and she's like, I'm telling my people that everything I know about this thing and how it's a hoax, and they're not believing me. And I'm like, we got jackets. You want to go have a drink? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm happy face day everywhere I go, and I'm getting yelled at. So
that's pretty much like the operations up here.
Yeah.
That like a million of you.
When we came up here and I saw people that were masked, I was like, this is disturbing. We're in Idaho. And I would see one guy go by or one guy in the car, and I'm like, this is disturbing. Like, they disturbed me because we had just come from that and we didn't see it for a long time. And then all of a sudden you start seeing people and I'm like,
yeah, but they're probably from California.
Probably.
But so
or
like
Washington.
Or Washington. Yeah. When Teddy and I went to are you asking me for a refill of coffee?
Oh no, I'm shaking it because it's sitting here. It's sitting here, so I'm like, oh, I better stir that.
That sound is Angie drinking and shaking her coffee cup.
All right. Oh.
You can kind of hear it. Yeah, so when Teddy and I went to New York for our honeymoon, it was weird. People were wearing their masks outside. They were wearing their mask, like two maybe. And then they... Yeah, and they would be like very standoffish from you, like not looking you in the eye. And maybe that's just New York in general, but like it was especially palpable when you went there. It was like post-apocalyptic vibes. Like, you know how
So
you see you know how you see like Times Square in movies and it's bustling. There was barely anybody there.
And they all went for it. and the businesses went for it. You know what I mean? They actually went along with it.
Oh yeah. Well,
You know?
and a lot of places were finally opening up. But like the 9/11 memorial was closed. Yeah.
Because the dead people embedded inside were going to get COVID. Like, come on.
Well, no, not
like,
that.
more like
the
but
museum.
But that's the mentality. Like, like you have to kind of chill out.
Are
like, when does it chill?
No, I think they found everybody, didn't they?
I thought they said that there's people that are still in there, which is why I always said I would never go to that place.
Really?
I would just be outside. Yeah, I thought they said that there was people still buried in there. Like their remains were so, that they were still there.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, so they updated it. You know that, right? Like they have like it's like a fountain, and it's in a square. It's like in a square shape.
Oh, so it's a new one, or it's the same two fountains where the original buildings were? They had two squares, I thought.
Maybe they're the original ones, and I couldn't even see it because it was raining, and like normally you can go up to those fountains, and look, but it was blocked off, and it was like pouring. Anyway, I wish that I could see that, but yeah, no, it was just crazy how certain things were blocked off and certain things were accessible, but you could feel it, like, in people, like how people treated you. You were just like, and it was right around the time of the elections, so there was like propaganda everywhere. And
2020.
Yeah,
we were praying like the wind in 2020. We were praying
everybody
for Trump.
was.
We were at St. Agnes, not St. Agnes, but St. Anne's. There was a big, everybody pray for our country, pray for the elections to be according to God's will. Just this big everybody pray thing.
Yeah.
And you felt really like it was strange. You felt like whatever happened, God's will be done.
Right.
Everybody, it just sort of like, I don't know.
Isn't that nice that like everything that happens is according to God's will? Like God's allowing these things to happen.
Yeah.
So like regardless of whether things seem hopeless or seem really dark, like God still has the reins on everything,
Yeah.
I mean, it sometimes doesn't feel like it, but it's nice to know there's something further.
That had to be a time where you had to get, when COVID happened and there was that big switch, me and my friend would sit and talk about martyrdom. We would talk about, what if they smashed the tabernacle? What would we do?
That was a real possibility for you guys.
Yeah, that was a real possibility. St. Anne's was on social media. They were targeted because some crazy was going, yeah, we should go to this. They took a picture of St. Anne's. We should go over here and protest and blah, 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 do. And so then the men in the pews were like, SBD, silent but deadly, man, don't mess around here. So they became more visible. They'd be on the corner. They'd be in the parking lot, just like they are nowadays.
Yeah.
Just on the regular. And, but yeah, you had to sit there and go, what if somebody comes into this church and they start smashing up statues, or they come after Father? What are you going to do? What if they go after the tabernacle? What are you going to do? We even had conversations like, well, what do you do if, we had a cathedral and somebody had said something about how, well, your tongue is as sacred as your hands, so you can take the communion in your hands. And I was like, I thought of this protest sign where I'd be standing out there like, I cannot enter this church for fear of trampling Jesus. That kind of thing. I'm like, I'm not, they're doing it in the hand. There's particles. I didn't think about that before. Even though I was going back to St. Anne's, I hadn't thought, oh yeah, that's the presence of Jesus. I don't know why that escaped my brain, but everything about being Catholic came really into sharp focus. And how Catholic are you, and how big is this for you, and how important is this for you?
Right.
So we'd have these conversations about martyrdom, telling Michael at this point, I don't even know if you're going to live past tomorrow. I'm just going to be honest. None of us know. So let's just be really, holy.
Keep your soul in check.
Keep your soul in check, state of grace. And, every second is a blessing. I mean,
regardless of whether COVID happened or not,
exactly.
That's how we should be living.
Exactly. And what's funny is we weren't. We were just living regular and going about doing our thing. But when COVID happened, everything came into high, sharp focus, scales off your eyes. You're just like, whoa, what? Oh, there.
That might be a blessing.
I think
I
so.
think it is. I think that it was helpful for us to kind of understand.
What's real?
Yeah, I think so. And especially, I mean, up here, of course, like, we weren't, I guess we weren't really under as much scrutiny as you guys were, but we did have to update the security. You know, I mean, it could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And so, and I mean, I wonder with the FBI stuff coming out, like, I wonder if, I don't know. I don't think you can update security. I don't think it's really like like they can't really do anything about it, you know, but it actually kind of gives me gumption to be more Catholic than I am. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, when COVID happened, it was weird when, was it dying? No, it's just an update. I don't know why the sound's on. Anyway, whatever. It was weird because it's like when masses were closed, we couldn't go to mass.
It's awful.
I thought that I'd have this like moment when I received the Eucharist for the first time where I'm just like, oh, and I like cry, you know, and it was just like going back to business.
I remember the last mass at St. Anne's, and I bawled. And you could feel when he did the Eucharist, or when he held up the Eucharist,
Yeah.
and the bells. I was there with my neighbors. There's some neighbor across the street, her and her daughters. We went to the last mass, and you could feel like the presence just like this whole, like the ceiling was falling in on you, but there was this power coming down, and you're just like, this is going away.
Isn't that crazy? I think that's the biggest awakening that we have had, is like how easy it is to not have access to the sacraments. Isn't that crazy like, and like you think about like how during the Black Plague they kept masses going and we
They
can't.
did processions and they did all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, when you heard those stories, you're just like, come on, are you serious right now? And
Yeah.
then the mask is there, but the particle still gets in. It gets through. The virus still gets through. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I'm thankful that I'm thankful that I'm alive now. I think, like, that I'm living through these times, because God has given us, I think, the grace to get through these types of things. He sees something special within us that He knows we can handle these things a lot
I remember
more effectively, I guess.
when I was a kid, and like I said, it was 5 generations. We would be 5 generations on the regular. So we always gathered at Granny's house, my great grandmother's house,
Yeah.
for Sunday, for holidays, for we would camp together. at
You said she was
Rosarito Beach.
93?
Yeah, she was 93, 94.
What year did she die?
I don't know. She died 6 months or so before my cousin. I'm not sure. My sister was pregnant at the time. I don't know what year she died, but we were, imagine, cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings, everybody together all the time.
Dang.
And so I'd be sitting at the table. My gramps had long tables. Like, this table would go from here to 50 people. And we would, I'd be sitting here with my cousins and my siblings, and we'd be laughing and talking. But over here, Mom's talking with her siblings and her cousins right
That's
next
crazy.
to us. And I would perk up because she talked about the Black Pope. She talked about Mass. She talked about,
The Black Pope is in like the anti-pope?
I don't know. She said something Black Pope, and I went, clunk. And then she talked about the fewness of the saved. And these are the baby boomers. And, they went from being Latin Mass kids to living through Vatican II, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she would talk about the Latin Mass, and she would talk about this, and she would talk about that, and the fewness of the saved. And she mentioned hell and all this stuff. They were having theological conversations, whatever. They were talking about church. She'd pipe up. And I was like scared to death. I would hear about hell and be like, and then she would talk about the fewness of the saved and how.
What is that?
Well, the fewness of the saved, if there's a book out there called The Fewness of the Saved.
Oh, okay.
And she would talk about how, I guess what she was talking about is, being in a state of grace, and then there's people who aren't in the state of grace, and then not everybody's going to make it into heaven.
Right.
And so she would have these conversations. I'll be like, what is she talking about? I don't want to go to hell. That's scary. What is hell? Like, you know, but we weren't really catechized. Like they weren't really teaching us stuff unless we were Easter, Christmas, at grandma's, you know. My mom was going to be a novice before I was born.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. She went to LA to go to school. And then when her parents got divorced, it was sometime during her being a novice. And then she's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go home. And she went home. And then a year or two later, she had me.
Was she married at the time? Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
She was like crazy. Yeah, my mom.
Wow. What order was she going to join?
I don't know. I'd have to ask my aunt or my uncle.
Wow, that is crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, and then she never got married in the church, but she was married to my dad, and then she divorced him when I was like 7, and then she was a divorced person until I was, I think, 12 or 11. She married my brother and sister's dad, but yeah, I don't know. And then she got divorced, and then, you know, she's living a single life all this time. She never got married in church. So she would tell me stuff, and I'd be like, Mom, tell me stuff. You know, after me and Al got married, she'd say things. I'm like, Mom, you've never been married before. The sacrament isn't like anything that you've ever experienced before. I've been married. And I'm like, Mom, it's the sacrament.
Yeah.
So maybe I should go to Father and ask Father about this particular situation, not you or not anybody, you know. But yeah.
So it sounds like she had kind of a hard life then, yeah?
Yeah, I think that she had a hard upbringing, but again, there was just a lot of family around. And then I would say she had a good life when she met my dad, married my dad, and had my sisters. And then, I don't know, my dad was really steady. When they got divorced, all that steadiness went with him. And it was gay divorcee or something, lifestyle. We Care. They used to have this divorced group called We Care. And so all the divorced people.
Gay divorcee?
No, gay divorcee, like a happy divorced person. It wasn't a happy time.
Oh, okay.
For me, it was really scary. But for her, it was like, you know how you're a homeschool mom and you got homeschool groups and you got homeschool outings? Well, now you're a divorced mom. And so you've got divorced groups and divorced outings. And
interesting.
Yeah, it was really scary. Scary just because I'm like, I don't know this woman. Who is this now?
Were you close with your dad after the divorce happened, or? Yeah. Are you still close with him?
Yeah, we don't talk to him as much. I don't know. I think we're bad children for that. He's retired and secluded.
Would he move up here?
Oh, I wish. Probably not for the snow. But yeah, I wish. I know, right? He grew up in Missouri, so he's like, it. Oh, he could do it, but I don't think he wants to, because it's San Diego. I mean, honestly, who wants to leave San Diego?
Well, if you go visit him, maybe we can come with you.
Oh yeah, totally. You know what I think would be cool is if we went during the procession of the Addolorata.
What is that?
Down in Little Italy, they have all these traditional feast days, and they would do processions at Our Lady of the Rosary. Oh man! And one of them is the Addolorata. They take her out. They take that statue. Remember I showed you the picture of the black draped Madonna? They take her out and put her on a litter. They have a special litter. They used to take her out, and they would have to tip her and then take her out and then come back up. And she's draped with a black cape, and it's beautifully
Our Lady
embroidered.
of Sorrows, right?
Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yeah.
And she has this canopy around her. Not canopy, but like an arch around her with dripping with roses and orchids and all this stuff. Wow. But now they have her on a litter that rolls, and she has hydraulics, so she goes down when they get to the stairs, and then they can take her down, and then she rises back up again. It's so
that's so cool.
We should go.
Oh man, I would
love to go then.
That would be amazing. I wish that you were up here when we would walk down Sherman for our Eucharistic processions.
I saw that on when I was looking at Gundolene. They had that thing. I love Gundolene, but I saw that. I was like, oh, I would like look some more. And there was a parish there. And then they showed the old pictures. They used to have on the website old pictures of the procession downtown.
Yeah. So actually someone ended up getting a video of it on a drone.
Whoa.
And it was so cool because, I mean, we were right downtown. So we'd walk down Sherman, and it was amazing.
I mean, she's life size.
Wow. That is amazing.
She's beautiful.
Ah,
You know.
dang.
I have a picture of the
Is
Mother
that the
of
one
Sorrows.
that you felt like you can tell if she looks more
No,
sad?
it's this one. It's the
Okay.
Mary Immaculate. I think that's that one.
That one is the one where you felt like you can kind of feel her
Yeah.
emotions almost.
No, I used to sit in the pews that were like directly when Patrick was the altar boy. I used to sit in the pews and see there's some Mother of Sorrows up close.
Wow.
But I used to sit in the pews on this side, like
Yeah.
5th or 6th row. And your mind would wander. You would sit there, be looking around, and then you look up at her. You just feel it. You look up at her, and she is looking at you. She's looking at you, and she has a face. Or the lady next to me, Francine, God bless her, she would talk to me after church, and then she would say, "Did you notice her face, or did you notice her expression?" I'm like, "Oh, yes."
Wow.
Yeah, no, anybody who sees her, they know she does that.
That's crazy. Well, now I really have to go there.
We should go there.
That would be so cool.
That would be so cool to go.
Oh,
No,
man.
because they take the Mother of Sorrows and they dress her up, and it's a tradition. It's an Italian tradition because that's an Italian parish.
Yeah.
They would take her, and they take her from that street, and they go down through Little Italy, wind down, and then they go all the way where the tuna fleet used to be. The Italian fishermen had their boats, and they would bless the boats back then.
Yeah.
Because tuna fishing was huge in San Diego when I was a kid. And the fleet would be parked there, and it was the Italian fishermen and the Portuguese fishermen.
Oh, cool.
And so they would process down there, bless the boats, and then they would come back and process up again with the Blessed Sacrament.
Oh, man.
It's amazing.
is
And then
so
Father would
cool.
be on the microphone, and he'd be walking by, and he would say the rosary.
Yeah, we would do that too.
Oh,
And the choir would be in the back,
yeah.
and they would sing different songs
Yeah.
as we're walking down, and it was it was cool because people would stop and they'd watch, you know,
They
and
watch
like
you go
not
by.
understand what's happening,
Yeah.
but they'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," and like, or like, "That's odd that people are walking down," you know, and but it made you feel proud to be a Catholic.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we're doing something, and I think that's why we have to be so overt about being Catholic.
You do.
Because how do you feel? Like, you talk about your achievements, you talk about, you know, oh, I'm proud I did this and that, but I think the biggest thing we should be proud of is that we have this huge ancient tradition, you know, and like we get the honor to pass that to our kids. We get the honor to pass that to our friends, if they're willing to, you know, listen about it. And even if they don't end up becoming Catholic, like, having that knowledge is important too. I mean, it's the oldest institution and living institution in the world, so it's important, I think, that we really, I used to say when I was a kid, spread the love of Jesus in your heart.
Yeah, I used to hear that. Can't remember who I heard that from, but I remember that phrase.
Yeah, I think my mom taught me that, and when there would be like a bully or something, she'd be like, "Well, Emily, they just don't have the love of Jesus in your heart."
Yeah, she said that.
Yeah,
Did she say that on her podcast?
Yeah, I think she
thought
did
she
say
said
that in
that.
her podcast.
Your mom's history compared to my mom's history, they're the same almost.
Mm.
Or your mom and my mom are the same
Yeah.
age, which is wild to
No,
me.
my mom's-
Your mom is 56,
Yeah.
and I'll be 56.
Oh.
I know. We're the same kind of
I was
generation.
trying
and
to-
her history about how they stood Catholic at her age.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely with, at the same age, I'm over here wherever I am in California, and that was not happening. We had all
With your family.
because everybody was Catholic, but the kids weren't so hard like Catholic like you guys were. Like you guys like kept the faith. It was almost
Well-
like little pilgrims going through the
I feel
pagan
like
world.
I feel like that was mainly like my grandparents. From what I've heard from my mom, like it didn't sound like the kids were super on board with it. And I mean, I don't.
But her parents were.
Her
right?
parents were very
It's amazing.
And actually, I started watching Mass of the Ages, the second episode, with my grandma, to see what she, you know, to hear her stories about living through that. Because I mean, oh my gosh, if walls could talk and I could
Yeah.
hear her conversations with my grandpa, that would have been amazing. But she had to stop watching it halfway through because it was so traumatic for her. You know, she's like, I can't watch it. I've already lived it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to relive it. It was a really hard time in our life, you know. And I mean, she was fighting nuns, and I mean, that must feel horrible to be fighting people who you would think would be trustworthy, people who you would think would be teaching your kids solid theological values, you know.
My mom went to school with the nuns, and she had some stories. And my uncles and my aunt have some stories about that. And I would just be like, wow, they kind of sound crazy. But we had like all the family. I don't know why my grandparents didn't. My grandmother taught us how to pray. We have a picture of grandma teaching us how to pray.
That's cool.
But other than that, we didn't think about praying. Like
Yeah.
we weren't being taught. Like her kids weren't teaching us kids.
I
You know what I'm
wonder-
saying?
I think that's a generational thing.
Yeah. It was the baby boomers. They weren't teaching us kids
Yeah.
any of that stuff. And so she would take us aside and she would do whatever she could to teach us. Like, but I think maybe they thought that their example was just going to have to be enough for them to affect us, because maybe they knew their kids were not going to church anymore, not whatever.
Yeah.
And so she had to reach in there somewhere and grab us. I mean, if we prayed today, it's because my gram taught us. My mom didn't teach us.
Yeah.
You know, my dad didn't teach us. My dad was a really good guy and stuff, but he wasn't Catholic. Like I've always wanted to have the steadiness of my dad, but I didn't know how to get it. If my dad walked into our lives and, you know, took on me and my mom and then married my mom and adopted me and then had other kids, like my mom didn't bring him Catholicism. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a part of our house. But she knew about it. She was in it, and then it just didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
My dad being so steady, and then my mom with the Catholicism, they had, I mean, they you know, he'd be a widow of my mom or something, I would guess. I don't know. We can't go back and do it over again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But isn't it amazing to see like my generation like picking up the pieces?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And I think about that all the time. Like, one of the main reasons that I'm Catholic, well, among many reasons, but one of the main motivators, I should say, is like my grandparents fought so hard to keep the Catholic faith, and
They did.
it would be such a disservice to them, you know. And I mean, I'm Catholic because I love being Catholic, but they did that. You know, my mom did that, and I mean, my dad didn't convert until I was almost I think 7 years, like right before I was born.
Wow.
He converted, and you know, they were just solid. There must be some really good people up in heaven that love us a lot, well, other than God, but like people that are praying for us, because we have had so many blessings in our life, and there's been so many different instances where I've been directed into a proper path when I could have easily gone down a bad path, you know. And so someone must be up there slipping God 20s, you know, saying like, please help her.
Smooches, here's some roses.
Yeah.
No, I'm just learning now in the last year. I think it was my uncles who were talking to me about the family stories. Because I was saying this when I was a kid, my great grandparents had a 50th wedding anniversary, and you look at the picture, and everybody's married. All of their kids, my great grandparents had my grandma and my Nina, their daughters, and then they had their kids, which is my mom and my uncles and aunts, and then my uncles and over here. And after this picture was taken, everybody on that stage in their tuxedos and gowns got divorced, except for my great grandparents, the two daughters, and my godfather. Wow. Everybody divorced right after that.
Dang.
And I see that and I'm like, oh, what? But before all that happened, I can think about the stories of my great grandparents and my great great grandmother and the little things that I would hear about my mom and her siblings and the cousins, and there had to be rosaries. My great great grandmother had to be like on the horn all the time. Praying rosary after rosary
Bothering
because
God.
right, there was some rosaries being said for even me to be here where I am today. There's like a, what is it? It's a victim. So there's a victim out there in the world that's suffering for you. They've got your name on their heart,
Yeah.
on their mind, or else it's somebody in your heritage, something. But I know for my gram, I know she was praying for me. I used to live with my gram. She was praying for me. Mm-hmm. She said her rosaries diligently every time. She'd get up at the same time, and she would go in the kitchen and she would say 15 decades every morning.
Wow, that's my grandma. She prays all the time.
Yeah,
like she's essentially a nun at this point. Like, and I was, you know what is so interesting? They used to accept widows.
yeah. Oh, they don't?
I don't know if they do anymore. But I mean, I'd love to know. Just for when I'm a widow, that'd be cool to be both. But no, you know, if I ever end up being a widow, hopefully not. But no, my grandma, I mean, she's living alone, and she's essentially living like a monastic life. She wakes up really early in the morning, she prays, she does novenas, she does chaplets, she does all this stuff, and yeah, really, I mean, dang,
She's
those
loving
prayers
for the family.
Yeah, those prayers are going to be so helpful for us down the line. Like, and we probably won't see the fruition of those until later. And I mean, I feel them now, but
living
like,
on them now too. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and I want to be that when I grow up, or now, you know, be that torchbearer. I think.
For all you know, we are already. Every time that's why I say smooches. I'm going to put some prayers on it.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about this situation. It really bothers me, but I'm going to put some kisses on it. Here's my rosary.
Right.
It was a struggle, by the way, to say it this time.
Well, Our Lady is the biggest advocate for any situation anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like she can do more good than we can in any capacity. So it's like.
And just handing it to her.
Right. If we don't have the capacity to help someone, just say a rosary for him.
I can imagine that there was this picture. There's my great-great-grandma, her daughter, and her sister. There's just all the, when I look at this picture, I'm like, all these rosaries that are being said, and I can know
the four generations.
Yeah, it was like Granny Tito, and then her daughter, Granny, and then my Gram and my Nina. So there was, 3 in that moment? Yeah, because my mom wasn't in there. I wasn't in there. But I look at those 4 women, and I think that's a lot of rosaries.
Were they praying the rosary?
No, they were standing there all in front of my grandma's house smiling. And I was like, that's a lot of... I know this period of life and what my grandma would have been going through, what my Nina was experiencing, what my granny was going through. Oh, they weren't like...
Granny Tito was
my great-great-grandmother.
Okay.
And then her daughter was my granny.
And that was your
great-grandmother. And then my Gram was in the picture, and her sister. So Granny had 2 daughters.
I see what you're saying. I'm trying to visualize it. That's what I'm
Granny
asking.
had 2 daughters, and Nina and Gram were in the picture with her and Granny Tito. So it was, 3 generations?
Wow.
And then my mom wasn't in the photo, or my aunt wasn't in the photo. Me or my cousin wasn't in the photo. But yeah, there was 5. But in that moment, in that picture, when I saw those 4 ladies are there, and I'm thinking about their lives in this moment and what they were each suffering and going through, I'm like, that's a lot of rosaries. Because I know they were all saying the rosary.
Yeah.
They've been saying the rosary forever. Oh, yeah, I was saying, too, at the 50th wedding anniversary, I'm just now learning that my grandma and my Nina did not get all their sacraments or, like, be really Catholic until they got married.
Really?
My Gramps was Protestant, and he refused. I still have to ask my uncle, are you messing with my leg? Are you pulling my leg? Or are you trying to tell me something here? She wasn't, they didn't get their sacraments until they were about to get married.
Well, no, like ask Michael what?
No, ask my uncle.
Oh, sorry. Uncle, sorry.
Ask one of my uncles, because I thought they said that they didn't get their sacraments until they could get married. And they got married in the church.
And they ended up staying married? Or?
Yeah, they ended up staying married, but my aunt did. My grandma had ended up getting divorced, but they didn't. They would go to church, and they would learn, but Gramps wouldn't let them do get their sacraments or become Catholic, or I don't know what.
That's weird.
It was, We have
Wow.
like strange little stories. Like now that I'm a adult, I'm going, what? How do you? Okay, I know you can't tell this to kids, but I what? How are we even here? Like, what did you guys do? Like, they didn't get. I don't understand. Why? I thought we were all Catholic. Yes, we're all Catholic. Granny Tito was Catholic, and your granny was Catholic, but your gramps was in the way. And I'm like, oh, why didn't y'all just mow them over and get your sacraments? No, it happened after when they were about to get married.
Wow.
I know.
But they got them.
They got them.
I mean, you think about some of these saints that they end
The
up
long
finding.
suffering.
Yeah, or like Saint Augustine.
Oh yeah.
How old was he when he became when he became a bishop or converted at least? I mean, he had gone through life, not to an advanced age or anything, but like he had lived life.
Yeah.
I mean, he had been. I think did he have a kid? I think he might have had a kid actually.
Yeah. He had a child out of wedlock, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
need
so
to ask
crazy.
my uncles about those stories again because I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
We might have to have you back on to tell him.
I know, right?
But no, I mean, you just think about these amazing saints that they found God through his infinite mercy and providence, and they became like these amazing saints.
We have such a gnarly history in our story.
In Catholic history or your family
Catholic history and family history, my great-grandparents were shotgun wedding because Granny was sitting in the back of a car and somebody I don't know who, that my great-great-grandmother heard from. My granny was sitting in the back of a car. She was this innocent little lady, and she was talking to my gramps or something.
Yeah.
He was outside the car or standing there by the car, whatever, but they were talking, or I don't know what was going on. And because of that, my Granny Tita was like, you're not trying to dishonor my daughter. You need to marry her. And that's how they got married. They didn't share a bed. For 2 months, they lived with my Gramps' cousins. His cousin and his wife after they got married. And for 2 months, and then his cousin finally said, listen, you're married. I got to sleep with my wife. You need to go sleep with your wife.
Yeah.
2 months.
Dang.
And then poor Granny. I hear the stories about my grandfather, my great-grandfather.
Wait, so they... Wait. Okay, wait.
So they get married.
Well, no, so like they were just talking? Like they were just like, they didn't know each other?
And somebody saw it and, said a particular thing, and it scandalized my great-granny, and she, was like, you're not scandalizing my daughter. You need to marry her. And yeah,
Really?
They got married like that.
Oh my gosh.
And I think they were married like 64 years or something.
What?
They were married a long time.
Wow. So they dang. So they didn't even know each other when they got married.
Really. They probably, I have to get those stories down. But
Wow.
yeah. And then it's amazing to me that I'm hearing, well, Granny Tita was Catholic and Granny was Catholic. So what? They would take the girls to church. She would still go to church. She would still say a rosary. She would still whatever that was in them, but he would not allow them to move forward with any of the sacraments. It's just strange.
Yeah. So did you have family in Mexico during the Cristeros and stuff? Do you have any connections with that?
I don't, probably.
Or
the
was it,
Cristeros are what year?
1929, I think.
Oh yeah. But
So
I
you
don't
had
know the
family-
stories.
you had family
down
back
there
in Mexico.
Yeah, or Baja
Oh, okay.
and possibly Mexico too. I don't know. There's this. It stops. The stories stop at a certain point, and then
That
you're
happened
like,
with our family
what
too.
in the world?
Well, so my grandpa, his dad ran away from home when he was, oh gosh, what? He was 12, maybe 11. Anyway, he ran away. He lived in Lima, Ohio, and he never talked about his past or anything.
Wow.
We were just in the dark. We didn't even know his parents' names.
Wow.
And when he left, he started working on the railroad.
And that wasn't uncommon then either.
No, no,
that
it
weird?
wasn't. And he ended up working on the railroad. Then he lied about his age and entered the Merchant Marines. And then he became the head of the Naval Yard during World War II
Wow.
and was on a first name basis with Roosevelt. And so I've always been curious about that past because I know a ton about my grandma's side of the family on my mom's side and my dad's side of the family. I know all of these different stories, and I went on Ancestry,
Yeah.
And I found out that my great grandpa, he was put into an insane asylum. I think they had 5 kids, and his wife, the kids were taken away from her. And this was in the early 1900s. And I don't think they ended up getting divorced, but she ended up getting remarried, I think, the year after he ended up passing away. And he died in the
institution.
Mm-hmm. And according to the newspaper, cut out, I think it was his obituary. I don't know how he died, but he wasn't claimed by anybody when he died. So he was buried at the institution.
Wow.
And he, yeah, it was a crazy story. And I was talking to some people that were like connected with that family. Like their ancestors were connected with my ancestors, and it's just crazy that we didn't know all about that. And I'm happy to know it now because we can pray for them.
Yeah.
And his name was what was his name? It was, I can look it up actually. My great grandpa's name was Alfred. His name is, oh gosh, I want to look it up because I want to ask people to pray for their souls. That's mainly why I'm seeing if I can find that. Did I delete Ancestry? Man. Anyway, his name was, I'll look it up. Anyway, it's amazing though that like we have this responsibility to pray for our family.
Mm-hmm.
And that we
especially pray for those generations that have passed that you don't know, but that thought enough of their future, which is us, to pray for us.
Right. And okay, I think I just found it. Let's see here. Okay, so my great grandmother's name is Leona, and my grandfather's name is Smith. Great great grandfather. So if you guys can pray for their souls, that would be awesome. And my, just the souls in purgatory in general. But yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing.
I'm thinking right now about my grandma. She would have to be great. Grandma Vita. She, my Gramps, who's my great grandfather, he was married to Granny. They had that shotgun wedding. When he was native from Zacatecas, somewhere in Mexico. I don't know. If you look it up on a map, there's Zacatecas, and he's from there.
Your
Gramps, the great grandfather.
Your great grandfather.
My great grandfather.
Okay.
And so in his heritage, his mom was native, and Grandma Vita, she was native, and she had this beautiful brown skin and high cheekbones, total native. And I think his dad was half black.
Native to
Mexico,
oh, okay.
Native American, native. We just say native.
Cool.
And then his dad, I think, was half black, or if not all black.
Wow.
But there's...
Your great grandfather could have been black.
Could have been black.
Wow.
I know it. Because my Gramps had that kind of hair that you had to, the kinky wavy hair that you had to, what did they call it? Conk or something? They had to put the lye soap in it to flatten it or something.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Teddy,
he had some of that in his hair.
Teddy is 4% black. Yeah.
My Gram. Okay. And this is my Gram. My Gram is my mom's mom. And Gramps is Graham's dad.
Yeah.
Graham, well, Graham would pay attention to us. She wanted to know what her grandkids were up to. She wanted to know what they were into because she wanted to be able to talk to us.
This is your...
Graham, my mom's mom.
Okay.
So she would always say, because we had this concept of our inner child. And, remember that period of time came out where, oh, my inner child this, my inner child that. Oh, I have an inner child, la, la, la. And my Graham looked at me and she goes, my inner child is black. And she stared at me like that with a little smile on her face. And I'd be like, I'm a visual. And I'm all, what are you trying to tell me? I'm going outside now. She said it every time. Anytime the inner child came up, she'd go, my inner child's black. But to her, it's like, think, kids.
Yeah.
Be kind to people. Doesn't matter what they look like.
Yeah.
I could be black on inside. You don't even know it. I could be black from my dad's side. You don't even know it. She didn't explain it right.
Right.
So she would just say, my inner child's black.
Well, okay, so that's what makes me laugh so hard about, like, this reparations stuff.
Stand in line.
No, I know. Well, the reason I'm laughing is because Teddy's, I think, if I remember correctly, one of Teddy's ancestors was a slave.
Dude.
And Teddy's, like, super white. You know, so it's, Teddy lines up, my ancestors built America, you know, but it's like, no, they didn't. They bought people to build America.
Right.
According to these people, you know, and he's like, no, I might look white, but my ancestry says otherwise, you know, and so it's like, and I don't know the full story.
That's awesome.
Oh man, it's so funny.
It's like the reservations or something like that, or reparations to Native Americans. And I always say, you know what? And I would say this to my mom, or I would say it to my aunt, because they're, you know, native sympathy. And I'd be like, listen, you know what? The United States is our reservation, if we had one. We walk freely wherever we want to go. We're not tied to that whole res thing. You guys just, you know, the whole United States is your reservation. But yeah, my grandma would, but reparations, it's like, really stand in line. Start with who? The natives, work your way to the blacks, and then what? The Chinese? I don't know.
And then
just get
the
over
Irish.
it.
Like,
yeah, come on. The Irish, everybody's got a reparation.
Everybody's a victim. I mean, come on.
Okay.
We're probably going to get canceled for this episode.
That would be good. Please cancel me. Please.
There's not enough people listening.
But I know.
I mean,
like this canceled t-shirts.
Wouldn't that be interesting if, like, there were more people listening to this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how Matt Fradd does it on Pints with Aquinas. Having so many people, like, just pounce on him, I bet, about some of the things he says. I mean, maybe I'll find that out eventually, but it probably takes some pretty serious grace to be able to deal with that, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Reparations, that was pretty funny. No, you know what makes me laugh is what is it? White privilege?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm looking at people going, you know that's a joke, right? If you fall for that line and start feeling guilty, we're all gonna laugh at you. It's not real. Just trust me, it's not real. Just don't.
The white privilege thing.
Yeah. Or white guilt or white this or white that. It's like, guys, it's a joke. Don't listen.
Well, and, you know, I've been asked too, like, how are you gonna raise your kids to respect black figures, you know, in history? And it's like,
are they American? I'm going to show them the American and go, hey, look, this American did this.
Well, right, exactly. Like, in another thing too, I was telling this person, like, there's a ton of black saints, you know?
I love Paquita. Oh, did you see that movie?
Oh yes, and her feast day was yesterday?
Really?
Or maybe the day before. It was recent.
I love her.
Oh, I know.
That movie was so awesome.
I need to watch it again.
Oh, my heart. Yeah.
I love her. And then Martin DePores. You know, we, like, the Catholic Church has always really upheld, you know, people as long as they love God and
Look at the variety of flowers. God likes variety. Who just said that? Was it
Saint Therese of Lisieux?
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, so silly. You can't. What are you gonna do? You can't do anything to change the color of your skin. And by the way, none of what happened in the past is happening today. We don't get to pay for that. That's not even real.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, right, and I don't know. I mean, and that's another thing too. It's like there always has to be someone claiming victim, and when it boils down to it, you just treat everybody with respect.
Well, what? I don't know. Where did this thing of victimhood come from anyway?
I think that it's existed forever.
For a long time.
I mean, even when Jesus was around, you know, the Jews, I mean, of course the Romans were, like, really mean. But, like, I think that there's always been some party that has claimed victimhood. And granted, some of them were, like, truly victims. But the main victim was Christ.
Yeah.
Overall, when it boils down to it, he was the ultimate victim. Mm-hmm. You know, and so...
Our Lady.
Right. Man, I think about... do you have a devotion to, like, Our Lady of Sorrows?
You know what? It grew from the processions at Little Italy. I didn't realize how close. It's almost like if you have saints in your background, like background meaning that you have a devotion to a saint, you're not sure why.
Right,
you have a
right.
devotion to this Madonna, you're not sure why.
Yeah.
You know, for all you know, they picked you, you know.
That was St.
But yeah.
Philomena for me.
Yeah. Mine would be, well, I didn't know because I brought him in my marriage, but St. Pio for me. St. Pio is huge. I could count on one hand how many times he saved us and how, you know, his intercession with Al during his heart attack. But,
oh, yeah. Can you please tell that story?
oh, so it was 9 months after we had gotten into our apartment. It was, he knows it distinctly. It was May 2010. And 9 months before then, we had just come into this one apartment. He was working as a maintenance guy, and he was doing a side job for some other person who was a neighbor in the block or something where we lived. And he went out to work, and I'm home with the baby. And 2010, Michael's like, what, 3 years old, something? And he's speaking Michaelish. He's not speaking English. He doesn't speak English till like a year later.
Michaelish is.
Michaelish is Michael did not speak English. He spoke his own language, and nobody could understand him. Every once in a while, he'd throw you a sentence or a few words, or if you say duck, and he would say duck. Say table, say table. He would say the word, and then he would go back to Michaelish. So he knew the words, but he would go back to Michaelish. So he was speaking Michaelish at this time. And he, you know, he was just a little guy. He didn't know anything. But Al went to work, and it's midday, and I hear this banging on the door. I didn't know it was my neighbor. My neighbor saw him at the end of the steps, clutching his chest. And she's like, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And he's like, "I just need to go to bed." And so she helped him get up the stairs. And she banged on the door that hard. It was her banging. He couldn't do anything but clutch his chest. He just stood there. He goes, "Thank you." And he just stood there. She told me this a few years ago before COVID. He just stood there. And she went down the stairs part way and looked up, and he was still standing there. So she gets up and starts banging on the door. So when on my side of the door, I think it's him. And I'm like, "What in the world? What are you doing?" I don't know what I'm like, "Why is he banging like that?" And I open the door and I see his face. I didn't see her because she had skedaddled. But I saw his face, and it was all grimaced, and I'm like, "You're having a heart attack." And he goes, "No, my chest hurts, but I'm fine. I just want to go to bed." He's tired.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we got to call 911. He's like, "No, don't call 911. Leave me alone. I want to go to bed." It's all he could say. "I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed." I'm like, "No, you can't go to bed." Meanwhile, there's Michael's just standing there, whatever. We're not paying attention. I'm not paying attention to him. We're not paying attention to him because I'm looking at him going, "No, you can't go to bed." And he's walking. "Gotta go to bed, gotta go to bed, gotta go to bed." I'm like, "No, you can't, don't go to bed. We gotta go to 911. No." So he gets in, and he's like still grimaced, and he's like, "Leave me alone. I want to go to bed." I'm like, "No, you're gonna have a heart attack. We gotta go 911. You gotta let me go 911. And I'm standing there in the doorway looking at him get in bed, and Michael's standing by the window on the opposite wall to me, and he's looking up, speaking Michaelish. I'm like, "What in the world? What's he doing?" I'm like, I'm like, "What is he? I can't, what? You gotta get up." And Michael's like this, blah, 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 blah. And I see St. Pio, literally see him like I see you clear as a bell. And his hand is on his face on the side, and his eyes are closed. And I hear, "It's imperative that you get up now." I heard his voice. And I go, and I was just like, I'm about to let him go to sleep because I'm tired of arguing with him. We are yelling at each other. And I go, "It's imperative that you get up now." And he went, boof. His eyes were like saucers, and he's like the transformer, putting on clothes. Just He wasn't even looking. He was just like up, putting on clothes, and then getting up with a frowny face, but his eyes were like saucers. And I'm like, oh, get the phone. And I'm like calling 911, and they get there like lickety split because I guess there was a fire station up in the hill. And they came, and their instrument was broken, and they're like, they're going, what's going on with him? And I don't know. It looks like he's having a heart attack. I have no idea. And they're like, "Well, no, it doesn't look like it." And the guy's like, And he's talking to me some more and saying, well, he was a Latino heritage, so he knew. Oh, he's probably just being really macho. "What happened to you today?" I guess he was breaking concrete. And in the middle of breaking concrete, he said it felt like an elephant had fallen on his chest. It was just pressing on him. And he laid down on the ground. I'm like, why are they letting you do that? For 3 hours, he was there. If I'm not mistaken, he said 2 or 3 hours he was laying on the ground. And finally, somebody at the site, and somebody finally brought him home at noon.
What?
And all he was doing was, chucking rocks, like bam, bam, breaking concrete, because they got to do this job, and all of a sudden, and I'm like, you were laying there for, I have to go back and ask him, because there's a huge chunk of time that he does not remember. He doesn't remember, getting into the hospital. He doesn't remember saying he wants to go to bed. He doesn't remember all this stuff. But he got up, and he got, in the sofa, and I don't even know what's going on with the little guy at this point. I'm just sitting here with the guys, and the instrument was broken. They were reading it wrong. It was off. They had something off was about the machine. Yeah. And they go, oh yeah, he's having a heart attack. It's a big one. Oh, we got to go. They're gone. And on the way to the hospital, I guess they were calling from the hospital going, hi, your husband is actually having a heart attack, and we're going to take care of him. He's almost here. We're going to take care of him. I don't want you to worry. It was a nurse. And then she asked what was going on. And I told her. And then she's like, okay. And then she called again. And she goes, okay, he's here. And she tried to describe to me, he was actually within 45 minutes of death. She said if he had fallen asleep, he would have never woken up again. Tell me again what happened. And I told her again. And she goes, we really need to thank you because you saved his life. And I was like, St. Pio saved his life, but whatever. Okay, fine.
Oh my gosh.
And she said he basically had the Widowmaker. But don't worry, he's already here. They're already working on him. They're already, she gave me the update. When I got to the hospital, there was like at least 7 doctors and nurses just in and out constantly. And they were looking at me, and I got my hand shook so many times by these people. And they said, we thank you for your quick response because he would have died.
Wow.
He was within 45 minutes of death. So you and I have 100% heart capacity, whatever. He's operating minus 40 or at 40. He's got diminished heart. Yeah.
Right
capacity.
Now
Yeah. So he's probably, if we operate at 6, he's about 3 or 4.
Oh my gosh.
To this day.
Dang.
And he lived through COVID. Come on. He's fine. This guy heals like the Wolverine. So many years later, it had to be 2000.
Well, wait. So with the Michaelish, because he was Michael was talking
Michaelish. And this is why the Michaelish comes into play. So I had a book in the bookshelf in the apartment. Mm-hmm. And it was St. Pio. And it says Holy St. Pio and the Holy Souls or something on the binding. I mean, Michael had never seen pictures of St. Pio, never saw the cover with St. Pio's face, never, And I remember having the book out, and he goes, oh, that's Pio, that's Pio. Throwing us a bone with English. And I go, yeah, that's Pio. Pio's with Daddy. I was like, what? Where? Where's Daddy? And you find Daddy. Pio's with Daddy. And I'm like, right now, Pio's with Daddy? Pio's with Daddy. And then back to Michaelish.
When he got home?
After he got home from the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
And so every once in a while I go, hey, Michael, where's Pio? And he'd stop playing. And then he'd find Daddy. Pio's with Daddy. And then he'd go back to playing. And then back to Michaelish.
Wait, so explain to me when Pio appeared to you. Like describe like how that looked. Like did he just go boop and appeared, or like
just like in your mind's eye as if I'm looking right at you.
He just was there.
He was just there. And his hand it would be almost like if you saw him in a picture of the confessional where he's kind of sitting there, only the background is like the wall. The background would be like the color of our wall. And he's like this. And it's almost like he's sitting in a chair, but he's like this. His eyes are closed and he's looking intently. You know how he has that kind of frown.
Was it like his whole body, or was it like...
It would be like to his waist, like he was sitting.
Okay.
That kind of...
Was he like in full color?
Full color. Like I see you.
Like just
Like
there.
I just see you. Just bam, just there.
And he just...
The whole room is gone and he's just right there.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like I'm just seeing him, and I'm in this scene, but then I'm like, no, I see Pio. What's that?
How long did you like feel like you were there with him?
It wasn't a long time. It was just a moment in this crazy harried, get up, get it, no, I'm not gonna get up.
That's so crazy.
What's the baby? I can't, get up, this arguing back and forth. And then all of a sudden the room is gone and Pio's right there like this. But then
That's crazy.
the room is there, and I'm like, because I'm thinking, forget you, go to bed. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm thinking, I can't do anything. He won't get up. Wow. He was literally like,
God must have some big plans for Al.
Well, and then you sit here and you go, I would think after that, it's been interesting to watch him. I say interesting only because I've got this anchor where I'm sitting here looking at him going upstairs one day, and I'm just like, oh, he's such a, and I hear, Al is a soul of inestimable value. And I was like,
who said what?
I heard
when was this recent?
One time when we were at the apartment, and I'm looking at him going up the stairs, and I'm just like, oh, this guy's getting on my nerves. And I hear, Al is a soul of inestimable value. And it was a time during the time that he that we got this apartment, and he was working in the maintenance as the maintenance guy in the apartment. Mm-hmm. He actually he used to be really, he would take us to church, he would take us to mass, we would pray together, with this and that. He fell off. I don't know why. And so I've had to watch this time period of his life and all that. And you would think after a heart attack, you would have this renewed, oh, my life and my faith. Yeah. And I must be whatever. No, he just seemed to get, more hard and still more not really feeling church, not really wanting to go to church, whatever. But on this one day where I'm just thinking, oh, I hear that in my head. Al is a soul of inestimable value, and it's been my anchor. Yeah. I've had to walk this walk with him, and in confessional or in counsel, you'll hear the father say, well, you're crucified on the other side of the cross with Jesus for your husband. And you're like, I need to really learn the richness of this marriage, because there's so much hidden. And the sacrament is wonderful. I love the sacrament of holy matrimony. But, we were married at Our Lady of the Rosary and the Novus Ordo. We weren't married in the Latin Rite. And I'm hearing how different it is, and how you put your hand on the crucifix. And no clue. But I hear that, and it's an anchor to me. It anchors me. It grounds me.
Oh, you guys put your hand on the crucifix?
No, we didn't do it.
We didn't
at
either.
the moment. No. Yeah, we didn't, because it wasn't offered to us. But whenever if I need a gimme to get me through this man's walk to God again, he's important to God. He doesn't want to, God doesn't want to lose him for for Pio to intercede for him that way.
You should get the purple rosary, or not rosary, the scapular.
Yeah, I'm totally gonna get that.
Yeah,
by the grace of God, I'm gonna get that. But
I'll send you the link. Actually,
I sent it to you. Oh, why? Yes, please do. Please send me the link. Wait, I would love it. I sent it to you guys.
Oh, I thought you just sent me the paper.
No. Oh yeah, the paper. I sent you the paper.
Oh, okay.
And you sent the link to everybody. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You sent the link.
But yeah, I want to get
Mom brain.
Mom brain, total. Yeah. I love Mom brain. I actually love Mom brain. I actually like it.
Oh, I don't.
I love it.
There's so many things that I have to remember.
I know, but then you write it down. And then you get to check it off.
But then I forget to write it down. And then
I'm
like, oh my gosh.
Writing down is boring. Because then you got all these notebooks everywhere.
At this point, I'm just trying to
not die.
Make my kids not die. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't even think I mentioned it on this podcast. So yesterday, I'll tell you the story. Yesterday, I'm making a lot of phone calls about something. And I had 5 minutes where I could just eat dinner. Just sit here at this table, eat dinner, and Gianna's in this little play zone. And she's in her diaper, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to scarf this down. Yeah. And I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm talking to her about something, and then I look over and Gianna's naked. I see her diaper on the ground first, and then I look over at Gianna, and I'm like, are you naked? And and then I'm like, Mom's talking, I'm on speaker with my dad and my mom, and Mom's like, oh, Gianna's naked. I'm like, Gianna, did you poop on the ground? And I go over there and I'm looking for bombs. Lo and behold, there's that bomb in a puddle. and
it's in a puddle.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. Mom, she pooped on the floor. And then I look at her face and there's brown around her mouth. And I'm like, no, Mom, Gianna ate her poop. I gotta go. And so, oh my gosh, I was like, you did not just eat your poop. You're just not, like, I didn't want this to be my reality. It's like, please, no. And I take her into the room and I clean her up and everything. And I'm like, no, please don't let this be my reality. And so I wipe her off, and then I wipe off her face. I smell the wipe, and it's poop.
It's official.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just did that, kid. And she's crying because she knows she got caught.
Yeah.
Not because she's feeling sick or anything. And I go in and I brush her teeth and everything, and I give her water, and I'm like, this is so disgusting. Oh my gosh. I'm like
And
ready
there's
to
nobody
throw
else
up.
who can do it.
No, and Teddy's not here. He's doing DoorDash, and so I'm like I'm so close to throwing up. Like, I'm like, this is the most disgusting thing that has ever happened to me. And like, and so I get her ready for bed. It's like 7:30, you know, and it's like kind of her bedtime. And I fill like a bottle of water for her, and I'm like, okay, good night. And I put her in her pack and play, give her the water. And I'm like, I can't deal with you right now. And so I go, I call poison control because my mom told me I should. And the lady was so funny. Like, this lady, I'm so glad I got her because she was so understanding about it. Like, it's like she had this conversation a million times, and I'm sure she has. And so I'm like, hey, my kid just ate poop. And she's like,
that's not the worst thing, chick. Go ahead.
No, I know. She's like,
it's okay.
She's like, what kind of poop? And when she asked that, I'm like, oh, this lady is versed.
Yeah.
She knows what's up. And I'm like, her own. She's like, okay, well, how old is it? And I'm like, probably about 5-10 minutes. She's like, okay, well, then she should be fine.
Right.
And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, I mean, came out of her own body. If it was some other kid or like someone that could have been sickly, then I'd be concerned. But like, and it didn't grow bacteria. And so anyway, she just gave me this spiel, and I'm like, oh man, I can't even believe. This better
never happen again.
I can't believe that I'm having this conversation with you. And she's like, oh, believe it. Like, she's like, listen, I have this conversation probably about 3 times a day. Many of those times, it's kids finger painting with it. And I'm like,
oh no.
Oh man, well, thanks for letting me know. Like, it sounds like she has kids, you know, like when you talk to moms, you know, like when I'm talking to you, you know what's up.
Oh yeah.
You know, so she's like, oh yeah.
She's like, yeah, no big deal.
That happens.
Yeah.
You know, I've had moms
right.
tell me like their kids ate poop.
Or they ate cat poo, or they went the dog poo, or they had...
Well, like some moms have told me that their kids like ate it like overnight, and like, oh man, it's just so nasty. Kids are gross, man.
You kind of look at them and are like, I did something to them. I dropped them, or I didn't feed them right, or something's wrong. Why?
I get so nervous that I'm going to mess up my kid. And then I'm like, she just ate her own poop off the floor. I'm not going to be the one to mess her up.
Yeah.
She's going to be the one to mess herself up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, yeah, that put a lot into perspective. I'm like, obviously I'm not going to say like, go eat your dinner off the floor or something. Right. But if she eats like a piece of food off the floor, I'm gonna be like, whatever. She just ate her poop off the floor.
I can't.
I think I just leveled up as a parent.
Yeah.
I felt it. I felt like
all we
have you ever seen Pokemon where the Pokemon like turns into like another iteration of itself, like it evolves is what it's called.
I leveled up.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I evolved as a mother when I experienced that.
I lived. My child lived. She survived.
She did.
She's gonna be rad.
I think that might have been more traumatic than me almost dying, actually.
You're all in comparison. I had bigger pains watching her eat her own poop. I could survive blindness, but my daughter ate her own poop. So
that was rough.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to say, I like to do that sometimes where it's like obviously hyperbole, but my mom, she shaved the back of my head. Did I tell you the story?
Yeah.
So she gave me like an uppercut all the way up to the back of my head. And I'm like, Mom, I had just had Finnegan. He was in the NICU when this happened. I'm like, Mom, that was more traumatic than having Finnegan. Why would you do this to me? And it was an accident, but it was like, it's just funny to like use that as a comparison.
I love that. You can't take stuff like that too seriously. You got to rob the trauma of its drama. You have to. You seriously have to.
Amazing.
You know what's funny is I have been triggered and traumatized since coming up here. And to be vulnerable like that and to have, it's a chink in the armor. I can't stand it. I don't like being vulnerable.
Traumatized by like
my mom. Well,
here?
no, my mom passed away when we got here 3 months later, that kind of thing. And then falling down before she died. I fell down really bad on my back. Michael said it was like watching that guy trip in Home Alone where they fell on their back in the New York episode where they fell. He said, you look like Home Alone. I'm like, okay, you need to just stop. But I was like muscle girl. I was like, come on, mom, we're moving. Muscle, right? And after that, it's like, oh, I'm all gimped out. And then she passes away. And then I get sick, which I might have gotten like really sick.
You might have gotten really sick.
Yeah, I might have, wink, wink, I might have gotten really sick with the sick. Yeah. I'm not sure. Wasn't verified, but who knows? Anyway, just being vulnerable. So if you can laugh at stuff like that, yeah, I'm taking the drama out of the trauma. Thank you, because I don't need to be any more gimped. Yeah, you. No, please.
Well, and I like to say, like, if I don't laugh, I'll weep.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. And actually that's like biologically true. Like if you smile, if you're feeling like crap and you smile, like your endorphins are released. And so you like end up feeling happier than you wouldn't
and
have.
then too, funny enough, because at one time in my life, I was in the spa industry, and when you're massaging people, women hold in their bodies. It's not just traumatic, like, okay, trauma and whatever. They can't deal with the trauma, and so it settles in their bones, their joints. They have backaches, they have headaches, they have, this cold spot in their body, or they have this kind of thing. You don't want that. So
you're gonna have to work on me one of these days, because
I'll show somebody. Maybe Teddy could work on you, and I'll tell him the techniques. I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, when I was pregnant with Michael, I didn't know it, but I was working as a massage therapist and esthetician in a spa. I was 7 days a week because I was covering for one of my colleagues who had just had her baby, so she was on maternity leave. And I didn't know it, but I was pregnant with Michael at the time.
Wow.
And so when I was doing massages, and I do like, I don't know, it'd be 3 a day. Not at that time 7 days a week, but they would pace them out for me, because you give 10 and then you get one. You kind of do that. So I was getting massages every week. But when I was pregnant with Michael, I had no idea it would actually make me nauseous
to massage
people. I was like,
I mean,
when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, don't touch me, and I won't massage anyone else ever again. Growth. Yeah, I would rather go, Teddy, apply your hands on her back or on her arm this way. I'll show you. And then now I'm like,
no, Angie, you got to take the drama out of the trauma and massage me, lady.
Yeah, that wasn't Catholic. That wasn't Catholic. I shouldn't be massaging people. I was obviously.
Oh, was it like Reiki stuff, like that kind of stuff? Where
that
it's like...
I did too, and I did that before I got pregnant with Michael.
Oh, okay.
And I was a weirdo. My Reiki teacher was like, "Yeah, no, it's Catholic."
Wait, what?
No, my Reiki teacher was like, "Yeah," because I was like, am I supposed to be, now that you've explained what this is, am I supposed to be doing this? And there's another girl going, yeah, I'm Catholic. Are we supposed to be here? And the one person left. She's like, yeah, I don't know about all this. And my teacher and I was like, I'm Catholic, and is this okay? This modality, this Reiki energy modality?
Yeah, because Reiki, what is Reiki? It's like
some Japanese energy thing. It's bad news. It's all about New Age. You don't even want to be a part of it.
Oh, hell no.
No, you don't want anything like it. It's just putting raisins and stuff. You can tell how much I like raisins. And by raisins, I probably mean Gianna's diaper material.
I'm gonna make you. It's just cinnamon rolls
like,
with raisins in it.
I don't like raisins and stuff because it's like, okay, this was just a nice texture until you put some, shriveled grapes in my food. I just had this. I don't want shriveled grapes in my food. Like, stop with the shriveled grapes.
Well, you just ruined oatmeal cookies for me.
Alex oatmeal cookies, and he likes them with raisins, and I'm like, I can't. Okay,
I
I'll do
love
raisins
oatmeal
by
cookies.
themselves, but I'm like, you ain't putting it in food. Just it's a shriveled grape by itself. Leave it alone. Stop putting raisins and stuff.
I've seen people put grapes, like grapes, with like cooked chicken. Like they cook it with the chicken.
Yeah, it's like a Waldorf or something.
Ugh.
Oh,
No, I can't eat a warm. Sorry, that's like way off topic. Warm grapes sound like highly unappetizing to me. That sounds like vomit.
you have to like, and especially too because you got to go through the trouble of like putting them in water to plump them up. Just stop.
No,
Just don't cook like that with raisins.
Please,
I just don't like it.
No,
I can't like it.
I'm white, and that's too white for me. Like, have you ever seen those videos of people that they like? Have you seen that?
You just said that's too Caucasian. So funny. No, you know why? Because I'm laughing right now. Somebody was talking to us about the cake. What is it? The neo-Nazis being here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're like, and they're describing it, and they're like, yeah, they're not around anymore, but they were making us white people scared. I was like, what? I go, if you're white people scaring white people, there's like a breach in the space-time continuum. Like, it makes sense to
Like,
me.
we're the villains. The villains are being villainized.
Wait, we're quote unquote the villains, but we're scared.
There's
I'm
like
sorry,
ultra villain. It's like ultra white.
I think Star Trek has just entered the building. What's going on? There's like a teleportation of some kind, and who are you? The white people are scared of the white people. I just somebody call Fox because MSNBC.
No, Fox would be scared.
MSNBC, call NPR.
man.
The white people have just scared the white people. Oh gosh.
No, but there's
No.
these like videos of people reacting to like these crazy white women that are they're like doing these weird recipes and like
From like the old times.
no, they're like describing these are like new recipes that they've created, and like 9 out of 10 times they have Velveeta in them. 9 out of 10 times they have like
good.
no, like Angie.
You looked at me like I just grew a severed head collection on the side of my shoulder. There's like this bag and all these heads in it.
No, it's because I'm trying to like process the trauma of watching these videos because they put like a whole block of Velveeta cheese and then they put more cheese on top and then they put like grapes and like anything they can find in their cabinet essentially in this recipe.
It's like
with
that
pasta.
Elf. No, it's like the
Yes!
elf recipe.
It totally is, but they're serious. Like, this is amazing, and my family eats it all the time. And I'm like, show
like,
your family.
diabetes.
Show me what your family
Show
looks
your
like.
family, right? She's in the ER, stomach pumped. Yeah. No, diabetes.
They're,
Y'all got
they're
diabetes.
tied up. Like,
Yeah.
help us! Like, we want McDonald's instead. This
You
is
suffer
McDonald's is better than this.
From diabetes. You need to go somewhere right now.
Oh my gosh, what were we just talking about? Anyway. Oh, wait. Okay, so we went
removing.
from.
We went from.
No, wait.
No, the massage. You're like, you must massage out my trauma.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, I'll let Teddy know. Hey, listen, apply your hands.
We were
to their
we were
arm.
talking about Reiki. What Reiki is?
Oh yeah, bad news. No, this teacher, she looked at after this person left, and there's other people in the room who are going to do this Reiki learning, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Catholic. Am I supposed to be in here doing this too? And she looked like she couldn't look at me. And she's like, yeah, you can be here, but you know what's funny is you've got like a lot of people around you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, there's this guy with a brown habit that's staring at me right now.
No way.
And then this big angel. You're protected pretty well, so
Wait.
I think you'll be okay. That's what she said.
No way. She literally
She
said
totally
that.
said that. And I looked at her, I'm like, oh, they're staring at you, huh? I'm looking at her like, they're staring at you, huh? Okay. They're looking, and she was like this, like there was something in her eye that she was trying to get away from.
Wait, what? Are you serious?
I used to give my
Hold on. Repeat what she just said, because
she
that
said,
is
yeah,
crazy.
there's a guy with a brown habit standing next to you, and you got this big angel. She's like, I think you'll be okay. I'm like,
Pio was standing there.
had to be. That's the only person I could think of. I was just like, okay.
Maybe that's why Pio had his like fingers on his
I have
hand
no idea.
or on
but
his face. He's like,
I have
"Why'd
good
you do
Pio
that?"
stories. No, I have good Pio stories. Pio came into my life when I was 27. Me and my sisters and my mom and our kids. and my little brother and sister, we took a weekend, Mother's Day weekend, to Las Vegas, where my one sister that I talked about earlier, she lived in Las Vegas. And she went to, I think it was called St. Bridget's. It was in Las Vegas, and there was a hugely devout priest there. I mean, major. He might as well have been saying Latin Mass. He might have said Latin Mass. He was big into St. Pio. They used to sell St. Pio oil. It wasn't blessed. You're not supposed to sell blessed oil, I was told. But they would have olive oil bottles of St. Pio oil and stuff like that. He also had a big devotion to St. Philomena.
Oh, nice.
And so we went to her house, and we're all cutting salsa, and it's Mother's Day weekend. See that little line right on my finger? In between there?
Oh, yeah.
I had cut my finger, my thumb, chopping salsa.
Oh.
And I refused to go to the doctor. It was bleeding big time. I cut through my nail.
Yeah.
It was bleeding big time. And my sister, and everybody's like, she needs to go to the doctor. And I'm like, I am not going to no doctor in Las Vegas. You can forget that. My sister took my thumb, grabbed it up. She had a Band-Aid. She put Pio oil on it, on the Band-Aid. And she goes, she's not going anywhere. Stop fussing. She grabbed my hand, and I was like, and she's like, oh, shut up. And she put the Band-Aid on. Look at my thumb.
Yeah, it's healed.
And it grows. My nails, I cut into my bed. That's how deep the cut
Oh,
was.
really?
Yeah. And another time, see this right here?
You got a bunch of Pio scars.
I do. I got Pio scars. Like right here, there's a nubby.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
I cut through my webbing being a dummy, doing crafting and sewing at night.
Nice.
And I went against, towards my hands with the cutter, and it sliced my webbing.
Oh, ow.
And I took the St. Pio oil, and everybody's asleep in the other room, Michael and ow. And I'm like, oh, please, I don't want to go to the doctor. I know this is bad. I know what I just did. Please, I don't want to go to the doctor. Please heal me. Healed.
Yeah. Do you have any of that stuff?
Yeah. I always have it. By the grace of God, I always have it.
Your Pio oil?
My Pio. I always have it. And when I was in LA, when I moved to LA in 2000, maybe a year later, I was a bit more of a seasoned barista. I used to work at Starbucks, and this had to be, I was about there 6 months, 7 months, because I'd lived in this one apartment. I'm remembering it in my brains. And I had my scapular, I was not really a practicing Catholic too much, but I was still going to church at that one place. Yeah. I have my scapular, and everybody would comment about my scapular, everybody that came in, because it's a pretty brown scapular. But I would always carry this oil, and I forgot. And for a period of time, I wasn't carrying it. And then one day I was rushing out to go to work, and I'm like, oh, I saw the bottle. And I was like, oh, put it away and took off to work. I get there, and the first thing I did, first 15 minutes of walking in the room, they're like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. We got this going on, that going on. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm going to change over the coffee. And you have the hopper, what is it, the container where you put the grounds, the coffee grounds?
Oh, yeah.
So I pull it out really fast because I'm going to change the coffee, and I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to do, right? Pull it out, hot water and coffee grounds landed on my hand, on the back of my hand.
And it's healed.
Well, now it's all really dry, but yeah.
Wow.
I got a 3rd-degree burn.
Oh, my gosh.
On my hand. And
that hand is trouble, man.
This hand is all kind of drama. This hand has got something on it, because I'm going to tell you what, it might be catching a bullet or giving the St. Nicholas slap, for all I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to be slapping a heretic. Who knows? But I did that. And this was a talk that our group at this Starbucks had at least once, but a good one. The manager had done the very same thing and got skin graft on her hand. And everybody knew this wound and saw it and knew about it. And it was a caution DED, don't ever do. Well, here I come. And I did it. And my lead is flipping out. You just did what Brenda did. Oh, what? And he's going back to get the burn cream. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to call, do you want to call 911? I'm like, I'm putting it underwater. And I'm like, no. But I can feel it sizzle underneath. People who have 3rd-degree burns, it's insane. It sizzles underneath. It's that deep. Ugh. You can feel it. And so I remembered I had the oil, and I put it on. And he's flipping out the back, and he's calling who knows what. I don't know who he's calling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you don't need to call anybody. I'm okay. And he's all, I'm going to get the burn cream. I'm going to at least do this. I'm going to do this. I have to call Brenda. And I'm like, okay, but I'm okay. I put it on and it was warm and then it stopped sizzling underneath. And for the longest time, I'd had a little red mark here that stung forever because I forgot to put oil on it.
Oh.
But look, can you tell which one if I told you? Mm-mm. Yeah, you couldn't tell.
That's crazy.
I know. And I came in the next day. I think I was off the next day, but then I came in again, and this manager was Catholic, and so was my assistant. And I go, oh, yeah. She goes, let me see your hand. And I showed it to her, and I told her the story, and all she could do is, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry.
She just thought she didn't have Pio oil.
I'm just like,
wow.
St. Pio, guys. I got to tell you.
Dang.
You know.
I might have to borrow that.
St. Pio is like, I don't, that's why I say saints, I bet you they have some sort of, it's like the angels are assigned to you and you have your own guardian angel. The saints, I would never know St. Pio before.
No, St. Philomena is that way for me.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the patron saint of blood disorders and babies. Like, that combo just describes my life. I mean, and I didn't know that she was the patron saint of both of those, actually, until I think after I had Finnegan.
Wow.
And so I started a St. Philomena novena when he wasn't gaining weight, when he reached his lowest, when he was 3 pounds, 15.5 ounces.
Yeah.
So he was almost 4 pounds, but which I'm saying that glibly. That's pretty small. Yeah. And so anyway, I started that novena, and I had a lot of people saying it with us, and the day that the novena ended, actually, no, it was her feast day, he finally started gaining weight. And he just kept going and going and going.
Anytime I hear the stories of the saints, it just amazes me. Somebody has a devotion to Saint Therese. Saint Therese, the little flower. My grandma had a picture of her in her bedroom above her dresser. I grew up with that image all my life. And she has Patrick, when he was little, his favorite saint, hands down, no matter who, it didn't matter the day or the hour. If you asked him, who's your favorite saint, it was always Saint Therese, the little flower. I don't know why. Yeah. So now I'm like, catch him, you know? Yeah. Go get him.
Right.
But yeah, like St. Maximilian Kolb is factored in Michael's life, starting with when we were doing homeschool together. And Pio, I brought him in marriage because he interceded for Al in such an incredible way. Like you know.
Yeah, so our friend Sarah Grant, you know, she's not doing well. When even before she found out she had cancer, when she was in the hospital, you know, getting ready to have Beatrix, she told me she has a huge devotion to Padre Pio now. Wow. For some reason. She just was like, oh, Padre Pio. Yeah. Like, it just, like, kind of, it just kind of appeared, you know, she just has this devotion now to him, and so maybe I should borrow it for her. See if that would do anything.
You can get it at Our Lady of the Rosary.
Where's that?
It's in San Diego.
Oh, okay. Might have to take a trip and get it.
Or be like, ring-a-ding. Hello. Yeah.
I wonder if they chip it.
That'd HBO.
Cool. Yeah, right.
Help a brother out.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be
St.
cool.
Pio, St. Pio's family. He said, it's in a book somewhere, he said that he would stand outside the gates of heaven and wait for every spiritual child he has to come in before he goes in.
Wow.
He waits for them at the gate. And I'm like, oh, man.
Wait, he is doing that?
That he's doing that. Oh, he said, too, that he would be in purgatory. I'm like, how? I doubt that.
No, you know what? Actually, I read an article recently. There was an article that was posted on the St. Joan of Arc Facebook, and it kind of, like, rubbed me the wrong way at first, talking about how difficult it is to just go, like, straight to heaven. Yeah. And I was like, oh, man, that seems kind of hopeless, because it's like, I was under the impression that all canonized saints went straight to heaven, and actually, a lot of them did end up spending time in purgatory. There isn't anything that says that, like, a canonized saint has to go, like, straight to heaven in order to be applicable. It's only if they go to heaven. And so, like, Padre Pio could have spent some time there. Like, one of the examples was St. John Bosco's mom. She would minister to the boys, and she would cook with John Bosco, and she would be helping. And before she died, she had the sacraments and had confession and all of that, and you'd think, like, she's the mother of a saint. She's set, she's had all of the preliminary things. And St. John Bosco had a dream about her, asking, did you go straight to heaven? And she said no.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh man.
I always remember. I don't know when it started. It might have been Father Louis. I've had a devotion, or at least in all the rosaries and all prayers, offerings. I always offer for the poor souls in purgatory. I don't know when that started though.
Yeah.
But you can't, I don't know, just think about, something I read about them just made me go, oh, okay, we got to fend for them. Like, we have to remember them. For all we know, we've got family there.
Well, we probably do.
Yeah.
And Anne Catherine Emmerich, she actually said that it's more advantageous for us to pray for the holy souls in purgatory than current sinners on earth.
Wow.
And I trust her judgment, man. She's a big
She's
deal.
pretty fierce.
I'm actually surprised she's not canonized yet.
Maybe she needs to be the person that can intercede, the blessed, or the thing that you were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah. For Sarah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many, and it gives me hope. I'm like, okay, there are even people like in your generation and like my generation, Carlos
Acutis, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Or even
he was buried in a hoodie.
That's wild.
Isn't that amazing? And I'm like, okay, gives me a little bit of hope that, like, maybe, I'm not saying, like, I'm expecting to be a canonized saint or a saint at all. I'm hoping, but, like, to go to heaven. But, yeah, you look at, like, the medieval times and that they had so many different saints, and you're like, where's that for us?
Yeah. But then you don't know, like, I don't know. It's amazing. When you're hearing the homilies that you're hearing here at St. Joan, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm prepared to die. I could die now. I could be a martyr now. I could do this now. I could do that now. You kind of feel like, well, like you said, you kind of feel level up, but then you're also kind of humbled and you're like, I'm not worthy. But then you're like looking at these people. You can look at somebody like in Sarah's position and you're like, that woman is lugging for somebody. Like, she's a victim for somebody. She could use that, not only suffer it maybe for her own life, but for her family, or for God is going to use the sufferings in a certain way to aid in their sanctification. Whose sanctification? Right. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I think for anybody, for whatever capacity suffering you're going through, that suffering is a little piece of Christ's suffering.
And honestly, little compared to his.
Yeah, and so it's like when you think about it in that way, and it's hard to do when you're suffering, but it's like Christ's suffering was entirely selfless. And if we are taking on some of that suffering, we should be thinking the same way.
Yeah.
We're doing this for someone else. It's not for our, and I mean, it's for, like, we get something from the deal of, like, offering up for others, like God remembers that, but ultimately, I mean, we have to look at it in that light where it's like the suffering that we're experiencing is mimicking the suffering of Christ to a very minimal extent. But the main thing that we should also be experiencing is the selflessness of it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, and like when you say, you're prepared to die, hearing these, when I was dying, I actually kind of tempted God with that. I was like, oh, by the way, we're running on like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Because we're having fun.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Fun. Okay. Anyway, so...
you were tempting God.
Yeah. So I said to my mom like 2 weeks before I went in, I was like, yeah, if I died right now, I don't think I'd be scared. Or like, if I was dying, like if I had the sacraments, I don't think I'd be scared to die. Yeah. And then that happens, and I did have the sacraments. Like, I did have last rites. I did have confession. I did not receive the Eucharist because I wasn't able to eat. And so, but I was still scared.
Isn't that funny? He's like, oh, really?
Yeah. No, I know.
Right.
That's why I laugh about it, because I'm like, oh, okay. God listened to that. And he's like, let me prove you wrong in the worst way
Right.
possible, but the best way possible. And so I know that.
Well, because you don't want to take that for granted. You
Right.
should be scared.
No,
'Cause
you
might
should
not,
be.
You should be scared. This is like the fear and working out your salvation and fear and trembling to the last breath. Yeah, you should be
Exactly.
scared.
No, like in biologically, like humans, we have like a natural response to almost dying.
Yeah.
You know, like my grandma can say over and over again, like, yep, I'm checking out. But when she had her heart attack, she went for life-saving measures.
Yeah.
You know, so like that natural instinct overrode it. You know, so it's just interesting, and I think we all have to pray for each other that we all have the strength to deal with that, and also to, you know, have final perseverance as well.
Well,
Be
and
able to receive the sacraments.
To not only receive the sacraments, but pray for your final perseverance, but also a holy death, and to be accepting of that holy death.
Yeah.
Wherever it is that I'm not accepting now that you can see, please shore that up for me and strengthen that for me.
Yeah. And
You're
that's
still
scary.
probably going to be scared. You're still probably going to be scared.
Well,
but
and we don't know. I mean, until you experience it, like I think we naturally have a fear of the unknown.
yeah.
You know, and like we have, because we believe in what we believe, you know, we know that there's something on the other side, and that, you know, purgatory exists, heaven exists, hell exists, but it's really making sure that time that we have, that God has allocated us, is being spent to reach our ultimate goal of joining him again.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It's hard, but
It's
when you
very
look
hard.
at what's harder is to react or act against what's going on right in front of you. To be I don't know, it's in your nature or in your soul to accept whatever sufferings God sends you. But in your human body and your, you know, the limits of your senses, it's
Well, even Christ asked
difficult. Yeah.
if that suffering could be taken from him.
Yeah.
So,
But then if you think he's the way and he walked that way first, and he did that so you could see that model and emulate it and be a part of that, then it makes it, then you're kind of like,
if Christ could do it, I could do
If
it.
he could
I
do
mean,
it, I could
Christ
do
is
it.
God, you know, but he'll give you the strength to deal with it.
that's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
Every time you hear it, it just, I don't know, these things, I wish you can't go back and do your life over again. You
Yeah.
just have to be who you are today and do your life today, and these are all the seconds that you have. But you're just like,
Make it count.
I wish yeah. Well, you didn't know before. Okay, well, you know now. So do something about it now. You can't
Yeah.
do about it before.
If not now, then when?
Yeah. You can't, you just have to, I don't know. And then too, it's really encouraging that there's so many of us who are, you know, doing the ducks fly straight. Okay, well, we're all encouraging each other to get there. I've had like the best conversations with people who, if I've chatted on something, they come in on the side and they're like, hey, and they shore you up, and they have this inspiration to give you to make you feel like, all right,
Yeah.
you know.
That was helpful when Finnegan was in the NICU. I had a lot of moms reach out to me and say they, you know, they had experience with the NICU, and having a kid in the NICU is scary. It's really scary because you're not there. You know, for the first few days, I would just cry myself to sleep because I'm like, I don't have my kid. You know, I don't have my baby here. And I felt like a failure almost because I'm like leaving him with others to take care of him. But I realized too, like they had more experience than I did. They could give him better care than I can, you know. And so God kind of gave me that peace about it. But those moms that texted me, you know, and they know who they are, but that was extremely helpful. Like that helped me get it through it a lot.
Yeah.
That was
Patrick
really
was in the
helpful.
NICU after he was born, but he was so feisty and cried so much, so piercingly, that he woke up the other babies in the NICU. And they're like, yeah, he's fine. He needs to go in the other room. Take him in the other room. That'll be okay. But yeah, I know. I think I was in the hospital for a few more days than normal because I had ended up having an eruption, and he had swallowed blood in his lungs and his stomach.
Oh, man.
And yeah, that was my introduction to Our Lady of Grace. And he was in the NICU.
How long was he in the NICU for?
Maybe a day or two, couple days.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he had clots. He'd like swallowed clots. He had been in that
poor baby.
situation for a few days before they took me.
Oh, man.
But yeah, he was in the NICU. And when I hear about stories in the NICU, I'm like, oh yeah, my baby was in the NICU. Oh yeah, my baby had, wow, he had this traumatic story, but we're okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And the same with Finnegan. I mean, that kid, he's so fat.
It's
going from
funny to
3
look
pound-
at them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny to see them and then see them so many months or years later, and you're like, oh yeah,
You're fine.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Live it down.
Yeah, they're made of rubber. So
I know. I was holding the. I love. You know what? I just love all the babies. I have to hold myself back when I see the babies. But if I'm catching babies, there's moms coming up to me going, "Oh, you have a baby in your arms." But like I was holding one of the twins,
oh yeah.
and I was just like, oh, she's just staring at me all funny, like, "Yeah, you're not mommy." But she's just studying my face,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this little one was in the NICU, and I'm remembering that thread and seeing that, and I'm like, I am in no space to respond because mom had just died so many days later. And I'm just like looking at this little face, studying my face,
Yeah.
and holding them and feeling how big they are and look at how long they are and looking at their breathing. It's like seeing Finnegan.
Yeah.
You like see him, his little face, his little eyes, and then he's crawling, or then he's making a noise, and then you're just like, it. You
No,
just
I know.
forget.
And I'm gonna have an episode coming up here pretty soon about that, like more specifically, but like seeing him and seeing how much he's become, you know, like I almost forget sometimes, you know, like I don't, but I do, you know, it's like more in the back of my mind. But seeing him, he likes to try to talk, and you know, he's trying to crawl and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, excuse me, like 4 months ago, I'm going back and forth to Spokane, and now this kid's like taken off. It's crazy just how much can happen in a few months. And I'm thinking in 6 months he's gonna be 1, and yeah, once he starts walking, I'm done for. He and Gianna, man, they're gonna be
He's so darn cute.
they're funny. Well,
They're totally funny.
thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for
It was
having me.
fun.
It was fun. I know. What were we talking about?
I
Just
don't
thinking
remember.
everything.
Yeah. I know. I was kind of expecting like, oh, we'll just start at the day you were born and go through your life, you know, but I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did. I think it was really good, and maybe I'll have to have you on for a second show.
Yeah.
Discover who those people are on that list.
Seriously. I know. I was remembering too, you know, I'm trying to throw him back, and he walked through his living room, his sister's living room, and he stopped. Really funny. And here I am trying to throw him back, and he stops, and she goes, "What's wrong? What's going on?" He goes, "I'm going to marry Angela." She goes, "What?" Because we had just met. He goes, "I'm going to marry Angela." And he goes, "Huh," and walks away. And here I am going, "Mom, you really like him, really? Oh, okay, let's go to the grandparents." Grandparents, what? And he's like, "I'm going to marry her."
Wow.
I know. I'm
Here
going
you
to
are.
get married. I know. It's going to be, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I'm like, we don't really celebrate our day much. There's always something going on.
What day is it again?
March 27.
Okay.
Epic.
You should go to Angelo's.
Yeah, we should.
That would be
We
really
went to
fun.
Felipe's after we got married.
Angelo's has a ton of Catholic art because it's owned by a Catholic.
Yeah.
So you should go.
Yeah.
Teddy and I
totally
went
go.
there for our first anniversary. It was nice.
I think it would be cool because we went to Felipe's right after we got married. It was just walking down to the pizza and having pizza with everybody, and
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. That'd
Yeah,
be
we should
fun.
totally go. I know. I gotta ask these stories too. I'm like, okay, I know you guys are telling me this stuff, but did you pull my leg or was this for real? And then, P.S. Al, are we somehow related? Because your so and so's best friend was my uncle's best friend, and maybe that would be the connection that Grandma was talking about.
I'm curious,
know.
man. Curious about it.
I know.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for
That was
having
fun.
me. It was fun.
All
Definitely.
right, you want to say? Oh, actually, 2 things. Did you become more like your mom when you became a mom?
No.
Okay. I'm asking all the people
no,
for the podcast.
I did
Interesting.
not. I did
Okay.
not.
Okay.
But I actually probably became more like what I was striving to do was be more like my dad, but realizing that I was actually walking like my mom.
So kind of.
So kind of.
Okay.
I was probably, no, I wasn't like my mom.
Okay.
But yeah, I was trying to have what dad had, but I ended up doing stuff like mom. And then, no. When I became a mom, then I was like, oh, mom, you used to get mad at, oh, no,
Okay.
You used to allow, what? Oh, no, I ain't doing that. Yeah, I became more like my dad. Or
Interesting.
more like my grandpa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, do you want to let's say a prayer for our moms all around the world. How about
Definitely.
that? All right. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Padre Pio,
Pray for us.
Father, Son,
Father,
Holy
Son,
Ghost.
Amen.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.